very, very proud of. And if you look at the records over the last 3.5 years on clay, yes, he may have played a lot more than Novak Djokovic and Rafael Nadal, but he has more wins, more clay court finals, and more clay court titles than anyone else. So he's not to be underestimated. But the issue is, how does he really hurt Novak Djokovic in a Grand Slam final, Annabelle and Greg?
Well, I think, as Greg alluded to earlier, he needs to serve exceptionally well, get a very high percentage of first serves in so he can try to take control of any of the rallies. If any of those returns of serve are at all short, which often they're not, often the return of serve is right back on the baseline at his feet. He'll have to be brave with that first strike after serve and be able to go into the corners and nail it. And he needs to bring that forehand into play as much as possible. But of course, as I said before, if you look at the two players side by side and you kind of compare all the strengths and weaknesses, you would tick every box in the side of Novak Djokovic. And he has to hope that Djokovic is a little off today, maybe a few uncharacteristic, unforced errors, or perhaps extra nerves because of the situation and the pressure and the history that is on the line today. I'm pretty sure we will see a little bit of extra nerves. Having said that, he was unbelievable in the start against Alcaraz.
And how much should Casper Ruud come forward to the net, Greg? I think he's fairly comfortable at the net, but Djokovic is even more comfortable. But he has to do something, doesn't he, to throw Djokovic off his rhythm?
He does. And, if I was him and part of his team, I'd show the finals of 2015 when Stan the Man Wawrinka went through Novak Djokovic. We all thought Novak Djokovic was going to beat Stan. Stan went for it, was aggressive, was positive. Never let Djokovic settle. If you get off to a bad start, it could be one-way traffic. So the start is huge for the Norwegian, and I agree with everything Annabelle says. Needs to be firing on the serve and huge forehands.
So brute force, raw power and aggression we need from Casper Ruud. Here he comes, he's climbing the steps. And he's about to be announced by our MC, Marc Murray, the first player out in the men's singles final of 2023.
Premier jour entré sur le court va disputer sa 3e finale en Grand Chelem. Il est norvégien, voici Casper Ruud.
Last male Scandinavian winner of a Grand Slam was Thomas Johansson at the Australian Open of 2002. Ruud played so well last year that had he beaten Carlos Alcaraz in the US Open final, he would have been the world #1. Instead, he stands here at #4 in the world. And now Novak Djokovic is on the move. He has squeakier shoes than pretty much any other man in the draw. Up the stairs he climbs, and about to be announced ahead of a 7th French Open final.
Il s'impose le numéro 3 mondial, vainqueur de 22 titres du Grand Chelem, dont 2 à Roland-Garros, le Serbe Novak Djokovic.
A 34th Grand Slam final for the great Novak Djokovic. 91 wins at Roland-Garros, second only to Rafael Nadal. And he's hoping to become the oldest male champion in the history of the French Open, dating back all the way to 1925. And already those chants will be music to his ears. More and more popular in Paris with these French crowds over the course of the last few years, and that is partly due to the titles he has won. It's also due to the matches he has lost and the finals he has lost to Rafael Nadal and the very gracious speeches he's given afterwards. Not in every corner of the world, not in every Grand Slam city will Novak Djokovic receive an ovation like that as he walks out to start a final. And we'll see how Casper Ruud is affected by that as he walks into the middle of the court, shakes hands with our umpire, Damien Dumoussois, and waits for Novak Djokovic for the coin toss. Djokovic just taking a little bit more water on board. And now side skips to the net and also shake hands, not just with the umpire, but with our two mascots.
Mettez-vous dans l'autre sens. Là, on fait face là-bas. So gentlemen, after the coin toss, there's going to be a picture with the kids and without the kids, please, okay? So we have the net machine, 25 seconds between points, you know where the clocks are, and in front too. Towels, let's say you have the grey dot, and Novak, you have the red dot, okay? Do you have any questions? Zoe, you do the coin toss? Yes? Ball or racket? Ball. Allez, vas-y.
Casper Ruud chooses ball.
Ball. Serve. Stay.
Ball it is, so Casper Ruud elects to serve, and Novak Djokovic will stay at the commentary box end here on the Philippe Chatrier court as the two players pose for some photographs with the two mascots. And now the two mascots leave them, and they pose for photographs, just the two of them. And we are just over 4 minutes away from the start of this French Open final. And nice for Novak Djokovic to get that kind of ovation. I mean, he deserves it, doesn't he, Greg, after the finals he's been in, the titles he's won, but it doesn't always happen. You think of the times he's played Roger Federer in particular at the US Open or Wimbledon.
Finally getting the respect he deserves from the crowd. They want to see history today. They want to see him win a 23rd Grand Slam, and he'll feel great about that. Let's not forget, he speaks French exceptionally well. He's sponsored by a French clothing company as well, so they really love and respect him, and he deserves that sort of applause with everything he has done in his career.
I noticed he went to the fridge, Russell, just before coming out for that coin toss, and all the towels were placed in the fridge, and whether or not he'd sort of specifically asked for that ahead of time, that wouldn't surprise me if he was that meticulous about planning. But he went to the fridge and got out about 5 or 6 towels. And then I think he also requested that a young mascot sort of walked on with another enormous bag of sort of drinks and bottles and things that were all very carefully packed into a little orange string bag, but they were placed next to him. So I think that's the detail that he goes to.
Well, he does. He does everything as perfectly as he needs to do it. He's not leaving any stone unturned. He's making sure everything is perfect, because if it's not, sometimes he can lose it towards his team, but then they make sure they solve the problem for him. And that's the way he deals with his tension if things aren't going well. You need to release that sort of feelings, those emotions out, and then get back to business. And he's one of the best in doing those things.
The Coupe des Mousquetaires is in position. It's behind Casper Ruud, behind the baseline at the front of the president's box. The Norwegian is hitting a few gentle smashes back to Djokovic, who's on the baseline, and they have another couple of minutes to complete their preparations for this French Open final. A reminder that they've met 4 times before. Ruud is yet to win a set. 2 clay court meetings in Rome and 2 others in the last couple of years at the ATP finals in Turin. This will be, at least for the start, and if the forecasters have got it right, an outdoor match. I have to say the clouds look fairly ominous above. Dark grey clouds, but the roof is open, and that at least is the way this French Open final will begin. Casper Ruud against Novak Djokovic. Djokovic looking to make it a record 23rd Grand Slam title for a man, and so we'll be hoping to leave this Philippe Chatrier court today with no regrets.
Non, rien de rien.
Roland Garros is where I want to peak on clay, where I want to play my best tennis.
It's going to be tough for sure. He's playing for his 23rd. I'm playing for my first, so I'm going to just try to play without pressure and just try to enjoy the moment.
Ruud with match point to get back into the French Open final, and he does it in style, and he's almost in tears.
I mean, I didn't believe in the beginning of the tournament that I was going to be in the final. Tomorrow is going to be the toughest challenge of the year for me to play Novak.
Drop shot Djokovic, in comes Alcaraz. Djokovic, passing shot, Alcaraz, volley winner by Djokovic, who raises his fist and punches the air, and the crowd on their feet. Absolutely stunning exchange.
Wow. Ça commence avec...
Djokovic down the line with the backhand. He's found the sideline. That's absolutely brilliant from Djokovic.
The athleticism on show, these cat and mouse points. This is the tennis we've been waiting to see.
Passing winner Ruud, and he did not need a second or a third opportunity.
Well, that was brilliant.
And Djokovic turning it on early here.
The Grand Slams are what still drives me when I wake up in the morning.
Novak Djokovic beats a man 16 years his junior to reach a 7th French Open final. We've had Maurice Ravel, we've had Edith Piaf already today here on 5 Live Sport on BBC Sounds men's singles final live from Roland Garros, with Novak Djokovic already a 10-time Australian Open champion, a 7-time Wimbledon champion, a 3-time US Open champion, and in front of Kylian Mbappe and 15,000 others, he's now trying to win a 3rd French Open champion. And we have the band as well, who've been the stars of this French Open. The warm-up is complete. Novak Djokovic is jogging to his chair. Casper Ruud is already in position. We'll be underway in just a matter of seconds here with Greg Rosetsky The US Open finalist in 1997 and a former world number 4, and Annabel Croft with us in the commentary box. The start of a fantastic week on 5 Live. It's the US Open Golf, it's the Ashes beginning on Friday with Test Match Special on the air at 10 o'clock from Edgbaston on BBC Sounds. And right now, after Iga Swiatek won a 3rd French Open title yesterday, can Novak Djokovic win a 3rd Roland Garros crown, a 23rd Grand Slam singles title, and overtake Carlos Alcaraz once more as the world number 1? Ruud will serve first. And he starts with a serve in towards the body of Djokovic, who returns on the forehand. Forehand from Ruud, the backhand from Djokovic is into the net, as we also welcome our listeners on the BBC World Service. A reminder that it's Greg Rosetsky and Annabel Croft alongside me in the commentary box. I've never had problems with your name before.
Well, that's all right, don't worry. We had Mbappe here as well as Ibrahimovic, the footballer from AC Milan who's watching, who's a big fan of Novak Djokovic. But the Norwegians got off to a good start. Good opening point from him. It's an important first service game to hold in, just to settle the nerves.
Yeah, definitely. If you judge the warm-up, I would have said that the warm-up was more relaxed from Novak Djokovic, actually. Casper Ruud was missing smashes. He hit a serve on the baseline.
Forehand from Djokovic to the forehand of Ruud. Forehand Djokovic cross-court. Ruud with the forehand on the run. Djokovic with the forehand down the centre. Could have perhaps put the rally away there. He'll try to do so with a drop shot, which Ruud reaches. The volley from Djokovic, and Ruud wins the net exchange.
Yeah, that's 2 very nervous points from Novak Djokovic. He just came forward off the drop shot and really didn't get hold of that ball to put it up in the air. It sort of almost made the racket head wobble when he played it, and didn't go anywhere. And he sort of looked down at himself like, what on earth was that? I think even Casper Ruud was surprised how bad that lob volley was. So definitely a lot more nerves down Novak Djokovic's side at the moment.
He most certainly doesn't look fully in his stride yet, Djokovic. Ruud has 30 love, the Norwegian, 6 foot precisely. The 24-year-old from Oslo misses the first serve. Second serve, backhand Djokovic, backhand Casper Ruud cross-court, backhand from Djokovic cross-court. Djokovic with more power on the forehand. It's onto the double-handed backhand of Ruud, and that drop shot is slightly better, but it's into the net from Djokovic, and Ruud will say thank you very much indeed. 40 love is a very nice position to be in the first game of the French Open final.
I mean, very strange for Novak. 2 early drop shots, just trying to get his rhythm out there. When we talk about tension here, expectation, trying to win his 23rd major, but there's lots of time in a 3 out of 5 set match.
3 game points for Ruud. Backhand return from Djokovic. Ruud with the forehand, Djokovic's backhand. Ruud to the backhand of Djokovic, and it's a clean winner on the forehand, and it's a love hold. And I'm not sure if Casper Ruud will be aware of this statistic, but that ends a run of 11 games in a row lost in French Open finals, because he lost the last 11 games of last year's final to Rafael Nadal in a match score of 6-3, 6-3, 6 love.
I'm sure the team didn't recommend that before the match. He didn't say, did you know you just broke your streak? As a tennis player, you never think about those things. It's all about the positive, all about the now, and that is the perfect start that we wanted.
Do you not think he would have remembered that he lost 11 games in a row at the end of last year's final?
No, that's why they created alcohol, to really forget those sorts of memories, because when you lose 11 in a row, you've got to delete that from your brain somehow.
Well, I'm more interested in what Djokovic does in terms of how he's striking the ball in this first service game for him, because that was a very, very shaky start. You could almost visibly feel the nerves coming through his body and racket. It just tells you what this means to him today.
Djokovic is serving. They have changed ends, so he is in front of the president's box. He's missed the first serve. Casper Ruud is in front of us. We're on the 5th floor of this stand at Philippe Chatrier Court, behind the receiver in this case. Forehand cross-court from Ruud, very deep. Djokovic's forehand into mid-court. Djokovic with the backhand cross-court. Ruud with the backhand cross-court onto the forehand of Djokovic. That lands just inside the baseline. Ruud with a backhand cross-court. Djokovic down the line with the backhand. Good depth on these approaches from Djokovic. Cross-court he goes with the backhand. Now reaching for the forehand cross-court Djokovic, and the drop shot from Ruud is into the net.
Well, the first part of that rally was not that smooth from Djokovic, actually. It felt like the ball was coming out of the strings in many different ways, and eventually he started to look a little bit smoother. Huge backhand up the line. We talked about that as being a tactic, and a pretty, well, I don't think, I was going to say dismal drop shot attempt from Casper Ruud. I don't think he'd be happy with that one.
No, he won't be, but what he will be happy with is how well he's hitting his two-handed backhand early on in this match.
Love 15. Sorry, 15 love. Backhand cross-court from Djokovic. That was the first point he's won in the match. Forehand Djokovic, forehand Ruud cross-court. Djokovic into the net with the forehand cross-court.
This is definitely a different Casper Ruud at the moment than last year's final. He seems more settled, more relaxed. The only thing is he's shaking his wrist a little bit after that last point. Hopefully it's nothing serious.
I do remember Djokovic being very, very nervous in the first set of the 2016 final against Andy Murray, which Murray won. His forehand in particular was badly affected, and for him that was his attempt to win a first French Open title and complete the Grand Slam of all the sport's major prizes. Excellent serve down the middle. Gives Djokovic the point.
I remember it so clearly. I was actually courtside for that match, and I'd never seen, you know, him visibly be that nervous and shaky, particularly on that forehand side. And the last point, could barely get the ball over the net. But again, you know, when you're talking about the history and what he's trying to do, you can understand it.
30-15 Djokovic. Some menacing clouds still above this Philippe Chatrier court in the southwestern corner of Paris. Backhand cross-court Djokovic, backhand from Ruud. Djokovic with the off forehand that he's missed.
I think he just needs a really good long exchange with sort of rhythm, you know, timing. Start to feel like that adrenaline that's surging through his body has left him, and probably a really good run, you know, on the court as well. Sometimes if you can really get the adrenaline out through a really good sprint on the court, but I feel like he's definitely suffering more from nerves than Casper Ruud.
Ruud has dropped 3 sets in the tournament so far. Djokovic just at 2. Backhand reply from Ruud is a high one. It's inside the baseline. Djokovic onto the baseline with a forehand. Forehand down the centre from Djokovic. Ruud returns on the forehand. Long goes Djokovic, and here is the first break point of the final, and it goes to the underdog, the world number 4 from Norway, Casper Ruud.
Oh, that forehand didn't look smooth at all, did it, Greg? It was leaving the strings pretty quickly, not much control on it.
Well, the other thing is Ruud's ball is kicking like a mule. He's just so relaxed. He's getting good purchase and good kick off the court as well, so he's unsettling the world number 3.
Tom Brady is in Novak Djokovic's box, I'm hearing. So he's bringing the stars. Forehand Djokovic, backhand cross-court with plenty of air. Ruud, it's his break point. The defense from Ruud was good until the moment he pushed the forehand over the baseline, and Djokovic saves the break point.
Tactically so astute there from Novak, going into the backhand side. Casper is expecting it to go back there, and he pulls the trigger up the line into the forehand side to draw the error. So it's a very clever cat and mouse game. How often do you go into the Ruud weakness, which is the backhand?
Also interesting to see how Ruud is just looping the ball back as well, giving him no pace balls interspersed with these big sort of strikes off the forehand side.
It's deuce. Djokovic has saved the break point. Backhand return from Ruud, again with plenty of air, lofting that one skywards. Backhand Ruud, Djokovic forehand down the line, Ruud with the forehand down the centre, backhand Djokovic, Ruud with the forehand, Djokovic cross-court and wide with the forehand. Second break point to the Norwegian.
The Norwegian at the moment is looking rock solid. I mean, he is so relaxed, and all the pressure, all the expectation is on Novak, and when that happens, if you can play with freedom, we talked about how important the start was. This is the perfect start from him.
But can he get the all-important early break? Andy Murray just underway at Surbiton in the Challenger final. You can watch that on the BBC Sport website and app and BBC iPlayer. He's up against Jurij Rodionov, the world number 134 from Austria. Kick serve from Djokovic, break point down for a second time. Hammers the forehand down the line.
Oh, that was a fantastic point, wasn't it? I mean, the kick serve. Casper Ruud was out by the fans sitting down the side of the court to hit that one, and then to step in and crunch that. I mean, that looked a lot better, that forehand.
It did, and the other thing is you're going to expect him to serve out wide a lot because Ruud stands so far back on the returns. If you can get the angle, you've got the open court wide open to go after it. And interesting to see if Novak changes it up here on the deuce and goes out wide, because he's gone down the tee too many times, in my opinion, on the deuce side.
Deuce in this opening Djokovic service game, and guess what he did?
Yeah.
He went down the tee, Greg, and he served an ace.
Yeah, but he hit the line this time because he hasn't been quite as accurate. So I think Casper was expecting the same thing I was.
Ruud is standing about 15 feet behind the baseline, and he will probably be seen a little bit further back again as the match goes on. You've probably got about 18 feet or so before you are sitting on the line judges' laps. Game point now to Djokovic. Forehand cross-court Djokovic. Forehand cross-court from Ruud onto Djokovic's forehand. Ruud with the backhand cross-court. Djokovic cross-court with the backhand. Ruud down the line and Djokovic into the net as he tries to really slap that forehand cross-court for a winner.
Yeah, he tried to get a lot of angle on that last forehand, but it was the backhand up the line from Casper Ruud which slightly took Novak by surprise. He was a tiny bit late getting across to that forehand.
I'd agree with you there, Annabelle. Casper's been hitting the backhand beautifully today, timing the ball, sealing it like a beach volleyball. He surprised Novak early on how well he's been playing.
Deuce in the second game of the final here on BBC Sounds 5 Live and the World Service. Men's singles final from Roland Garros. Forehand Djokovic winner.
Well, he did exactly what Greg Rosetsky asked for there. A really acute angle out wide. He's really got that serve in his toolkit today, and that was perfection, wasn't it?
It was, and I'd expect to see that play happening again to close out this game, because if you go in straight lines with Casper, you're in a lot of troubles, especially on the serve and the ground strokes.
This game has taken quite a lot of time to complete. Djokovic has saved 2 break points. It's deuce 3 times, but now it's advantage Djokovic. Forehand cross-court from Ruud. Djokovic hits the net post, and it bounces back to the back of the court, and we head to deuce once more.
Yeah, very good angle from Casper Ruud, which he's brought into play a couple of times in this game. And the way Djokovic went after that forehand, he definitely thought he was going to make that. He didn't hold back on it. Struck it confidently, but as you say, it whacked the net post.
Fourth deuce of this opening Novak Djokovic service game. It's a good serve that by Djokovic. He's got a very short ball to put away, and he makes no mistake with the forehand.
It's amazing to see how many options he has at his serving disposal there. You know, just keeps on changing it up, keeps Casper Ruud guessing on what's happening.
Well, we talked about the change in his serve with the lower ball toss, but also the toss is in this beehive, so it's a very small margin, so it's hard to tell whether he's going to kick, slice, or hit the flat one, because it's such a good toss and such a good motion now.
Can Djokovic close out the game this time? He nets with the first serve. He's dropped sets against Karen Khachanov in the quarterfinals and against Carlos Alcaraz in the semi-final. But once Alcaraz started cramping early in the third set, there was only one winner. There's that huge Casper Ruud forehand in evidence. He smashed that second serve of Novak Djokovic's into the corner for a winner.
Well, no wonder that got gasps from the crowd here. That was quite spectacular. And then we saw a good shot on the big screen of his dad really applauding that one, Casper Ruud. So he was pretty chuffed with his son's incredible return of serve there. And that'll be a bit intimidating for Novak. I don't think he'll be throwing in too many second serves like that to that forehand.
Dad, Christian, also his coach. Possibly somebody Greg played against.
I didn't play too many clay court tournaments, so I've practiced with him. He was really good on the clay, but not as good on the hard and the grass where I played most of my events. But he's done a fantastic job with his son. Before his son, he was the top Norwegian tennis player ever in the men's game.
Yeah, his son's broken all his records, hasn't he? Forehand Djokovic at deuce in this long opening service game for the Serb, and his break point down again. That was a really ragged forehand cross-court missing the doubles court, and it's a third break point now to Casper Ruud.
What I'm loving here from Casper Ruud is his tactics, going really powerfully into that forehand side with pace, not allowing Novak to hit his forehand in his backhand corner, which is his better shot from the forehand side.
"14 minutes played already, still the second game of the final. Can Ruud get an early boost and break the Djokovic serve? It's a very good serve by Djokovic. It's the moonball backhand return by Ruud. The lob from Ruud. Djokovic underneath the high ball. And he's missed the smash, as Annabelle said in the build-up. If you were looking for one Novak Djokovic weakness, then you could make a case for the overhead. And he just tried to softball that back in play, Annabelle. It came off the frame, and Casper Ruud breaks for 2-love.
Yeah, he didn't really want to hit that, did he? You could see by the way he was shaping up to it, and it was quite deep. It was a brilliant lob because he got it so high, so deep back into the almost that back section of the court, and he hesitated when he went up to it, and that almost came down towards the throat of the racket. The racket face was open. He never looked like making that. He needed to snap that wrist over the top. What a start this is for Casper Ruud.
He knows he needs to take most of the opportunities that come his way, and he did so there on the third break point to lead by 2-0. Can he now hold on to his serve? His second serve is onto the backhand of Djokovic. Ruud cross-court with the backhand. Djokovic cross-court with the backhand. Ruud goes cross-court with another backhand. Djokovic lifting this one up. Cross-court on the backhand, taking a bit of pace off it, now flattening it out on the forehand. A backhand Djokovic into the corner. It's almost the moon ball again from Ruud, and it works. The backhand moon ball. Djokovic rifles the forehand into the net.
Oh, this is just tactically brilliant from the Norwegian, and usually when he gets the break, he gets a little bit tight, Casper, but he's playing well within himself, comfortable with the Djokovic pace, and that moon ball has been so effective. Gotten so many forehand errors from Djokovic early on from that side with that shot.
Yeah, it was Gilles Simon, wasn't it, who played those tactics against Djokovic, I think at the Australian Open, wasn't it, a number of years ago, and then I remember Gael Monfils trying to employ it again afterwards, but it was a tactic that definitely Djokovic did not enjoy.
He won the match, didn't he, against Gilles Simon?
5
but
sets.
It was famous because Djokovic, perhaps for the only time in his career, as Ruud just misses the backhand cross-court, committed over 100 unforced errors.
Yes, I remember. We haven't really seen that before, had we, with somebody using that tactic against Djokovic and it working so effectively.
Well, you better make sure to use it at the right time, or you better make sure you have go-go gadget legs like Gilles Simon, who tried to run it down but still didn't find a solution.
No, that was a lot of what tennis players refer to as junk in that match. We're not going to see as much of that from Casper Ruud today, but it's certainly something that he's going to be employing by the looks of things.
Well, the difference with his game is he's got the firepower off both wings, while Gilles Simon would beat you with his legs and his guile and his determination. He's using it sparingly, Ruud, at the moment.
15 all. Djokovic plays the same game. Hits the high moonball service return. Forehand Djokovic again with plenty of air onto the forehand of Ruud. Ruud's backhand is softballed into the middle of the court. Forehand cross-court from Djokovic. Now they're hitting more powerfully and flatter. And now a short ball for Ruud, who has missed on the forehand.
What an opportunity. Set up the point beautifully, and you can't afford to make an error like that. You don't want to give the break back or get Novak back into this match because the crowd is starting to cheer and get their man going.
Yeah, I'm surprised he missed that one. I mean, you can understand it under immense pressure in such a big occasion, but Djokovic had already committed to the wrong side. I think even he was surprised because that was really a sitter mid-court. Listen to the fans.
Really showing their support for Djokovic, not just as he walked out onto court, but at his first look at a possible break. 15-30 Ruud, and only the third game of the match. Ruud hits the forehand. Djokovic cross-court with the backhand. Ruud cross-court with the backhand. Another backhand here for Ruud. Djokovic will go cross-court once again to that Ruud backhand. Now Djokovic down the line, but into the net.
I'm very surprised here that Novak doesn't want to go toe-to-toe with that backhand cross-court rally. You know, there's no need for him to pull the trigger on the one up the line just yet. Just ask the question, can you beat me on that cross-court rally with your backhand? And I would take Djokovic 8 out of 10 times going in that
Yeah,
play.
I feel the same way as you, Greg, that at the moment, because he's just not quite there with where his level needs to be, he's still a little bit nervous, and he's up against an inspired opponent. He just needs to go cross-court a little bit longer in the rally.
30 all. Ruud in towards the body of Djokovic. Backhand cross-court Djokovic. Long Djokovic. Game point Ruud for a 3-love first set lead.
I don't think Djokovic is going to panic just yet. He's going to try and stay as calm as possible, just knowing that this is not a great start for him.
Game point Ruud into the net with the first serve. Australia have beaten India to win the World Test Championship final by 209 runs at the Oval. That means that on Sports Extra and BBC Sounds at the moment, there's commentary on Nottinghamshire against Warwickshire in the County Championship. Ruud with a game point. He served a double fault. So a couple of errors in this game. The very bad miss on the forehand, and the double fault means that it's juice as he tries to consolidate that early break.
It just feels like Djokovic has been opening up the shoulders a little bit more in the last 2 or 3 rallies and putting extra injection of pace, a little bit more venom behind the ground strokes. He's a bit irritated, wants to start showing who's boss out here.
Well, most tennis players like to be like peacocks out there. They like
Yes.
to show their feathers and show that they're the boss. But, ooh, that was very
Yeah,
close,
I
that
thought so
serve.
too,
Worth
yeah.
the challenge.
Yeah, I thought that could have been in.
Ruud happy to play on. Damien Dumoussois, our umpire, happy with the call. It was almost right under his nose. Decided it wasn't worth a closer look. Forehand from Djokovic. He's been moved around the court in this rally, and this time Ruud does not miss the opportunity. A powerful forehand down the line, and he has another chance to move into a 3-love first set lead.
We talk about the serve and we talk about the forehand of Ruud. The backhand today, to me, has been the most impressive shot. It's set up the forehand beautifully as in the last point. The backhand up the line, we talk about Djokovic's. Ruud has been money early on, and that's making a big difference right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. We thought it was going to be the Djokovic backhand line, but at the moment it's the Ruud backhand line that's having such an impact on this match.
Game point for Ruud. Backhand, cross-court, Djokovic into the net. He's not going to be too fussed, though, is he? He might trail by 3 games to love, Greg, but he's been here many times before.
Well, he has, but never trying to win a 23rd major. So Ruud playing without pressure, without expectation, tactically brilliant, and playing as well as he possibly can. But I think Djokovic will find a fight back.
We have 2 editions of the 5 Live Football Daily on the BBC Sounds site at the moment, on the BBC Sounds app. One has commentary highlights of Manchester City's win over Inter in the Ataturk Stadium in Istanbul last night. John Murray, Chris Sutton, and Jonathan Woodgate were our commentators. Sorry, Jonathan, just momentarily forgot who the 3rd commentator was. And there's another Football Daily with reaction to Manchester City's triumph. Now, already, conversation between Djokovic and our umpire Dumoussois.
Well, he's got the ice towel around his neck, and it's not been tied up properly, so masses of ice cubes falling out all around him, and he's now sitting with lots of ice cubes sort of melting. They've fallen on the floor, they've on the seat.
So there's an art to making an ice towel, then, I guess.
I've never done one myself, but maybe Greg knows
I
about
have.
it.
Usually you put the ice in a plastic bag. Once it's in the plastic bag, you wrap it in the towel, then you put 3 balls of tape across. There was only 2 on the side without having the plastic bag with the ice in it to go around. That's why it fell out. So you have to be very specific. And then you sprinkle a little water on the top of it, which allows it to feel cool right away. I'm an ice
You're
towel
an expert.
fan. Well, I wasn't as fit as these guys, so I like to keep my temperature down, and I sometimes struggled in the heat. So you've got to know how to manage it well. At 36 years young, Djokovic knows every trick in the book.
Yeah, and I don't suppose he is the sort of person... I mean, I could imagine that his clothes at home are absolutely immaculately folded and everything hung up perfectly with colour coordination. Everything is perfect, and so having that ice towel with all those cubes of ice falling around him and making his chair rather messy won't be feeling good right now.
Well, most tennis players are either one way or the other. They're either OCD or very messy. There's no in between with us. We're all or nothing.
Okay.
A predominantly red top, reddy brown colour, not that dissimilar from the clay, and black shorts is what Djokovic is wearing, and there's a very nice, easy forehand winner behind a good first serve. Casper Ruud in a blue and orange top and blue shorts and orange shoes at the far end, and he's wearing his trademark white bandana, and when he takes that bandana off, you see the most spectacular forehead tan mark.
Yes. Yeah, he needs to get out in the sun and just take that bandana off for a period of time just to sort of equal it up, doesn't it? Because it does look a bit odd.
I don't think he's overly worried about that, Annabelle.
No, I don't think he is either.
Backhand cross-court long from Ruud. A long way behind the baseline to hit that, and it always looks like it's a real effort to get it back in play from that far back.
Well, it is, and Djokovic took a little bit off that first serve, only 100 miles an hour kick out wide, so, you know, changing his speeds on his serve as well to put the Norwegian off.
Djokovic to 30 love. He's going to serve and volley here, but actually decides to leave the volley because he knew that forehand from Ruud was going to be long.
Yes, I wondered when we might see that come into play, and it might become very significant and important at some big moments as this match develops, because as Greg said, with Ruud so far back in the court, it's such a good tactic for him.
3 game points for Djokovic. This is just what he would have been hoping for. A very quick service game potentially here after that long service game in which he was ultimately broken. Backhand reply, high lob return by Ruud, and that is also over the baseline. And Djokovic holds the love. Not often it takes him 25 minutes to get on the scoreboard in a Grand Slam final, but he has established himself now, and it's just the 1 break of serve advantage. Casper Ruud leading this first set by 3 games to 1.
But this is where Djokovic becomes very dangerous, because all of a sudden he's had his angst, he's been a little bit uptight, and all of a sudden winning that love service game, he's just starting to feel it out there. This is where Casper can't drop his level whatsoever.
Ruud, 3-1 up, forehand cross-court. Djokovic with the forehand with some air onto the backhand of Ruud. Cross-court with the backhand goes Djokovic. Djokovic onto the baseline, hits the backhand very deep, but a good switch of direction from Ruud, and Djokovic has missed the forehand cross-court.
Yeah, so far, when they've had any kind of extension on a rally, it's Ruud that's been able to get Djokovic on the run, off balance, and then he's the one that's broken down. And actually, ordinarily, you'd think of that as a role reversal.
Well, the backhand up the line isn't functioning for Novak right now. He's not hitting his spot. He's giving him too much time on the forehand side, and when he gets that forehand cross-court, it's Novak who's struggling with his forehand.
15 love. Ruud serves into the net. These two practiced together 2 weeks ago on the first Sunday of the championships. Quite often happens, of course. Top players like to play with each other in practice, particularly on the men's side, and they know that there's every chance they might meet later in the tournament. Ruud's the aggressor here. He's got a very, very short ball, and he smashes that into the clay. Djokovic does very well, hanging back with the line judges to get a racket on that, and it sails harmlessly over the head of our umpire, Damien Dumoussois, and Ruud moves to 30 love. It's hot, it's humid, it's overcast in Paris. Great return here by Djokovic. His backhand down the line onto the forehand cross-court of Ruud, and the man from Oslo has missed on this occasion.
It's the first time Novak's really been able to step in on that backhand and crunch it up the line and get that unforced error on the forehand side of Casper. You know, we talked about that, especially Annabelle at the beginning of the show, how important a shot that is for Novak, but it was all set up from the excellent return to serve, finally pushing the Norwegian back.
30-15 Ruud. 3-1 up in the first set here on 5 Live and the World Service and BBC Sounds. Second serve for Ruud at 30-15. Forehand return Djokovic. Ruud's forehand. Djokovic with the forehand. Ruud makes room for a forehand. Djokovic down the line with the forehand. Ruud cross-court with that same forehand. Cross-court, Ruud goes again. Djokovic down the line. Slice backhand from Ruud. Djokovic with the forehand. Ruud with the slice forehand. Djokovic with the off forehand onto the Ruud backhand. Short ball for Djokovic, and he's missed. Well, that was astonishing. Having played such a fantastic point, it looked like it was only a matter of when he would win it.
Well, I was just beginning to think, right, now is the time that he's going to start playing. I mean, this was one of the best points that I felt that he playing with a lot more freedom, in control of the point, dictating it. But then to see that miss, he was totally off balance when he hit that backhand. He nearly fell over at the end of it. And that's not going to feel good. Might just eat into a little bit of confidence there.
2 game points then for Casper Ruud for a 4-1 lead. Tries to finish it quickly with that serve down the middle, but goes long. Second serve for Ruud, right into the body of Djokovic. Forehand down the line, Ruud. Very skillfully done. And he leads this first set by 4 games to 1. We have been enjoying finals weekend here at Roland Garros, with Iga Swiatek winning the women's final yesterday. And I have to say also, over the last 24 hours, we've been enjoying the latest tennis Instagram account, which is called Tsitsidosa. And the breaking news, for those who haven't heard, is that Stefanos Tsitsipas and Paula Badosa are now an item, Greg.
I mean, God almighty, help us all. I mean, you got 2 great tennis champions together. It's nice to see. I remember the last big one was Jimmy Connors and Chrissy Everett. So they're drawing a lot of attention right now, which is good for the sport. But I'd also like to see them playing a little bit better on the tennis court these days. And let's not forget about Monfils and Svitolina as well.
And they were an example of a couple who certainly advertised their relationship on social media. But I mean, you're not be able to follow every single twist and turn of the relationship, but pretty much, if you look at that account, there's loads of pictures of them draped over each other. Is that sensible?
Annabelle, I'm going to pass this one to you.
I haven't seen any of these pictures. I need to start getting up with all the gossip here. But it is interesting, isn't it? I mean, I guess it makes sense because, you know, players, certainly female tennis players, I think, don't get too many opportunities, actually, because it's so head down and they don't tend to go out in the evenings, you know, other than with their team and everything. So they don't get opportunities to meet too many people outside the sport. So actually, the fact that they come together with the, you know, the men at these tournaments, and maybe I can understand why 2 of them have got together. I don't know. What do you think, Greg?
Well, I've seen the dance videos together, so they're quite raunchy, some of their posts together. Yes.
Let me have a look. Get my phone out.
Greg and I will take this game, Annabelle. That's fine. You catch up with what you've missed. It's the fact that it's all out there so publicly that surprises me. I mean, obviously, tennis players are going to get together and there's loads of relationships in the sport, but they are absolutely advertising it to everybody. Djokovic is 1-4 down, and he's won the first point here on serve as Ruud, on the defensive, hooks a forehand wide.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
Keep scrolling.
I'm not sure I can
Keep
concentrate
reacting.
on the tennis now. Oh, they're not hiding anything, are they?
Forehand into the net from Ruud.
Well, at least for Novak Djokovic's point of view, he's won the last, I believe, 6 points on his serve. Starting to have easy service games, so it's a matter of time before he gets his teeth into the Ruud's service games and tries to find a way to get a break back. But the Norwegian today has had the perfect start in this final, but still trying to win his first ever set against Novak.
Yes, 4 meetings, 4 straight sets defeats. None at Grand Slam level. Djokovic just waiting for a noisy section of this crowd to quieten down.
Well, he gave some of them a long, hard stare, and there was somebody up there the other day who he was almost playing every point to kind of beat that person in the crowd as well as his opponent. So I'm not sure it was very sensible of that person.
Backhand return from Ruud. Djokovic with a forehand. Ruud's forehand very short. Djokovic with a forehand down the line, and Ruud has just missed the passing chance. Pushes the forehand wide, and that's 7 points in a row now that Djokovic has won on serve.
Yeah, he sometimes is a bit like Andy Murray in that he becomes a rebel with a cause, doesn't he? And needs almost that fire from somewhere else to kind of fuel him up a bit. Maybe he needs this.
Yeah, sometimes lets it wash over him, but absolutely, there are times where he does. If he feels that somebody's being disrespectful to him, he will call it out. And also, I'm sure you're right, Annabelle, it does just fuel the engine, doesn't it, if he knows that there's somebody who's getting under his skin who he can try and prove a point to. 3 game points for Djokovic, a second serve, backhand from Ruud onto the forehand of Djokovic, backhand Ruud, Djokovic's forehand, Ruud with the forehand cross-court, Djokovic cross-court but into the net.
Just not getting that finish on some of these rallies. I mean, that was another slapped forehand where he played really well for 2 or 3 strikes, and then when he's gone for the big one, he's just sort of slapped it and not been able to impose himself on the match.
He seems like he's just trying to force it a little bit too much, like he's trying to make the ultimate shot rather than being patient on the right ball. That's also a combination of how well Casper Ruud's playing today that he's having to feel like he has to force it a bit more.
Forehand Ruud, he's missed the passing chance. Djokovic looking to serve and volley, and Djokovic holds. That's the second convincing service game in a row by Djokovic, but he has been broken once, which is why Casper Ruud leads by 4 games to 2. Some other breaking news of a more serious nature. Scotland's former First Minister Nicola Sturgeon has been arrested in connection with the ongoing investigation into the funding and finances of the SNP. And we'll have more on that story in the news, which is coming up at the end of this set. Ruud has missed the first serve here. He leads by 4 games to 2. Backhand Djokovic, forehand from Ruud. Djokovic with the backhand down the centre. Ruud's off forehand. Djokovic with a high backhand. This to buy himself a little bit of time. Forehand cross-court from Ruud. High forehand Djokovic. Drive volley Ruud. Forehand Djokovic. Stop volley Ruud to win the point. How about that?
That was interesting because between first and second serve, Djokovic actually took quite a big step backwards. And then he thundered a great return to the back of the court, but the Ruud forehand sort of set the precedent and the tone for the rally, was in control of it, and what a stop volley that was.
Ruud right now is dictating play. He is the boss out there, and it's very difficult to do against Novak. Exceptional tennis so far from him.
4-2, 15 love, forehand from Djokovic, forehand cross-court, Ruud onto the sideline. Djokovic with a high ball, and Ruud does shank the backhand, so is not able to put the finishing touches to that rally.
That's the first one that he's really looked bad on the backhand side, because it's been rock solid today.
Yeah, it has. And also, I think, you know, it's very unusual to see somebody pushing Djokovic so far behind the baseline so often. And normally we talk about Djokovic being up on the baseline, so balanced, very difficult to get off balance and in defensive positions. And Ruud has done it from point 1.
4-2, 15 all. Forehand at full stretch from Djokovic. He's returned it just inside the baseline. The moon ball backhand from Djokovic. The off forehand from Ruud. Ruud's forehand to the Djokovic backhand. Ruud with the forehand. Djokovic with the backhand to the backhand of Ruud. Djokovic cross-court again with the backhand. Ruud long with the backhand. Starting to feel the pressure a little bit now. 15-30.
Well, that was a mix of pace thrown into that last rally from Djokovic. Threw in a couple of loopier balls, then back to the sort of metronome-type backhand, and just starting to make a few little inroads into this first set.
Ruud at 15-30. That serve into the net. Second serve, Ruud. Backhand, Djokovic cross-court. Ruud cross-court with the backhand. Djokovic down the line. Ruud with the forehand. Little short and into the centre of the court. But he's still in this rally. Just not convincing the forehand, but it landed in. Djokovic is in control here. The off forehand, he's in at the net. The lob from Ruud. The smash from Djokovic. It's another shank on the smash.
My word.
Oh, my goodness. I did wonder when that went up. He's kind of laughing about it, which is probably the best reaction he could have, but I have a feeling he's going to have the jitters on every single lob that goes up today. And
Well,
I think he'd do well to actually bounce it and smash it rather than try and go for the smash.
Well, it all correlates to the first overhead when he got broken. He really hasn't let that go, and when you're missing overheads, the reason is because there's doubt. He's just got to be aggressive with it. Either bounce it, as you say, Annabelle, or just say, I'm going for broke on this. It's just trying to push it into play.
That was a very straightforward smash. It's now 30 all. Forehand long. Ruud, he's given Djokovic the break point chance. Andy Murray's a game away from the first set in Surbiton. 5-2, he leads Yurish Rodionov in the Challenger final. You can watch that on the BBC iPlayer. It's also on the BBC Sport website and app. There's live text commentary of this men's singles final from Paris, also on the BBC Sport website. And you may well be listening to us right now on the BBC Sounds homepage. Forehand from Djokovic. He has a break back point. Forehand Ruud. Forehand cross-court Djokovic. Ruud with a forehand onto the forehand of Djokovic. Ruud's backhand, carefully placing this cross-court. Ruud will go down the line to the Djokovic forehand. Ruud cross-court with a forehand. Djokovic with more weight behind that forehand. And now Ruud steps up the pace. Slice backhand Ruud. Djokovic's forehand. Ruud cross-court with a forehand. Djokovic on the run with a high forehand. Ruud is break point down. His forehand's down the line. Djokovic with a forehand onto the baseline. Djokovic waits patiently for this. Hits the forehand to the slice backhand cross-court of Ruud. Slice backhand cross-court from Djokovic. Ruud down the line. Djokovic with a high one. The drive volley from Ruud. It's onto the baseline. The smash into the net from Ruud. Would you believe it? After Djokovic missed the easiest of smashes, the best rally of the match finishes with Ruud smashing it into the net and handing the break back to Djokovic.
Oh, that was a lung buster of a rally, wasn't it? I mean, both of them pushed to their physical limits in that one. I just felt like Djokovic, because of the extra nerves and tension around him, sometimes when he's being pushed out wide on the forehand, Greg, he looks like he's suffering physically just because of nerves, I think. But, oh my goodness, he went into lockdown there. And actually, to get the free point off the smash is pretty unusual because Ruud has a great overhead and it's almost like it's caught on to him. You know, the fact that Novak has missed 2 howlers.
Well, the other thing is, what impressed me about this rally was the way Novak was just willing to grind it out, you know, just get that extra ball back in place. Ruud was the one who commanded the point, was willing to come forward. Novak kept the right side, but hit that topspin kind of shortish lob, which is difficult to handle. It was at the wrong height, and his team's reaction knows that his man is back in this set and back in the match, and this crowd's ready to explode behind him.
Yeah, he kind of got away with that missed smash, though, because that lob was very, very short. I mean, you know, throughout the course of these championships to get to the final, there's no way Casper Ruud would have missed a smash like that.
But also, it's a lung-busting sort of rally. When you have a 28-shot rally like that, to finish off the last point, sometimes you're just out of a little bit of gas, and it was in an awkward height with topspin. If it's a flat one, it's always much easier. So it was almost a bad lob that made the difference there.
Yeah, and every time Novak sits down at his chair, something happens, doesn't it? It's the clanging of the water bottle falling over, you know, the ice towel. Wasn't quite happy with that again. I mean, there's just quite a lot going on. He just doesn't seem very settled every time he sits down. It's a bit messy down there.
Well, it is, but that's also to do with the tension, the meaning of the match for both players as well. Novak's taking a little extra time here, getting a new racket in play as well before the new balls come into play. It's a huge difference between the old balls and then the new balls in play because they just fly that much more.
Balls which Casper Ruud described as being very big and hairy and slow earlier in the fortnight, which seems to be a bit of a theme on tour these days. The Australian Open balls were very, very slow as well. And it led to that ridiculous match, or contributed to that ridiculous match between Andy Murray and Thanasi Kokkinakis. 3-4 down Djokovic. He's got the break of serve back. He's hitting a forehand to the Ruud forehand. Now Ruud's on the attack, and he's got the volley, which he had to be a little bit careful with because it was very, very close to the net as he put that easy volley away.
Every time he unleashes this big forehand, I mean, the weight of shot coming through the court, and it's a low trajectory sometimes over the net. I mean, it is doing a lot of damage.
Well, he's bossing Novak, and the new balls with his rotation off his forehand side are only going to help him. Because it just rears up the court and just goes through the court a little bit quicker.
3-4, but at love 15 here, Djokovic. Down the tee, excellent serve. Service winner. I mentioned Thanasi Kokkinakis and Andy Murray there. They could actually end up playing each other perhaps at Nottingham this week in the Challenger event. It's a WTA event as well, and you'll be able to follow that on the BBC Sport website and app, and BBC Red Button next week. Coverage of that will start on Monday, but right now it's all about the Surbiton final, which Andy Murray's involved in. Maria Sakkari, who's the world number 8, is also in that Nottingham WTA field, along with the semi-finalist here, Beatrice Haddad-Meyer, who won the title last year and has decided to accept Laura Robson, the tournament director's offer of a wild card. I thought she might fancy a bit of a breather.
Yeah, I thought
but
she might
none of it.
break.
Particularly given the matches she played here,
yeah,
including one of, what was it, 3 hours and 40-something minutes in the
so,
quarterfinal?
51, I think.
3 hours 51, that's exactly what it was. 3-4, 15 all. Djokovic with the second serve. Forehand cross-court from Ruud. Djokovic cross-court. Ruud will go cross-court back to Djokovic. Djokovic has just reached enough of this to get it back in play. Ruud has absolutely smashed an off forehand. He's going to have one more hit. And finally breaks the defences of Djokovic, but that was raw power from the Norwegian.
Yeah, and Djokovic struggling a little bit on some of these balls out wide to his forehand. He's just not reading it. He's a bit late, and he looks like he's a punch bag at the moment, being absolutely pummeled.
Well, I think the other thing for Novak, he's not hitting his spots on the serve with obviously Casper standing so far back, and if he doesn't, that allows Casper to really hit aggressively with that forehand and command the point from the start. So Novak's looking for another accurate serve so he can be the boss.
15-30, 3-4. Fabulous start to the men's singles final here on 5 Live, the World Service and BBC Sounds. Final match of this year's French Open. Shea Su Wei and Wang Xinyu of Taiwan and China won the women's doubles title earlier, beating Taylor Townsend and Leylah Fernandez in 3 sets. Slow second serve from Djokovic. Backhand from Ruud. He's trying to set up a couple more break points here, but he's not got hold of that forehand at all, Ruud. Going cross-court, he's dumps it into the base of the net.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Sorry, Greg, that the second serve was a little bit shaky, wasn't it? It didn't really look as if he was accelerating up into it. He sort of sunk down into it. I just think there's still nerves coursing through his body.
There are, but an opportunity missed by Ruud there. He should have run around and taken his forehand. The serve was slow enough that he could have actually got his best shot into play.
30 all. Djokovic at a crucial stage of this first set, 3-4 down. Forehand cross-court Djokovic, forehand Ruud to the forehand of Djokovic. Ruud hits the high backhand onto the forehand of Djokovic. Ruud again with plenty of air, goes cross-court this time with the backhand. Cross-court he goes again to the Djokovic backhand. Drop shot from Ruud. Brilliant. Djokovic stopped about 3 or 4 yards short when he realised that he was chasing a lost cause. First set to Andy Murray in Surbiton in the final of the Challenger event against Yuriy Rodionov. So if he can win the second or even a third, it'll be a first grass court title for him since Wimbledon 2016. And this is another break point for Casper Ruud. He takes it, he serves for the first set against the great Novak Djokovic in this French Open final. A man hoping to equal Serena Williams' record of 23 Grand Slam titles today. Backhand return from Ruud cross-court. Djokovic stepping inside the baseline to hit the forehand, but he's knocked it straight back at Ruud. A careful rally developing here. Forehand Djokovic cross-court. Ruud cross-court with a forehand. Djokovic cross-court with a forehand, dropping a bit shorter this time. Another very short forehand from Djokovic. Slice backhand from Ruud. Ruud with the backhand cross-court. Djokovic cross-court with the backhand. Forehand Djokovic. Ruud slices his backhand to the forehand of Djokovic. Ruud slices that backhand again. Djokovic is in mid-court. Now, he's underneath the overhead. Very carefully knocks it back to Ruud. Volley winner Djokovic, where he's a lot more comfortable.
Well, you had to hold your breath when he went for that smash, and he didn't really hit it. I mean, he kind of guided it into play. No real power on it, but at least he didn't sort of let it drop into the throat of the racket. And actually did extremely well with the drop volley to follow that up.
He did, and on top of that, after he won the point, he put up his hands to get the crowd to give him a little bit more support. And I think he wants the crowd to give him this support and this noise so he can get a little bit more time to recover for this next point coming up.
He still looks really nervous, I think, on the forehand swing. I mean, there were a lot of, as you pointed out, Russell, short forehands in that last rally, and sometimes he's got no power. almost you can feel his nerves as he's going up for some of these shots.
It is a draining start for both players. I remember Djokovic saying after he beat Carlos Alcaraz in 4 sets, the last 2 sets disappearing very quickly after Alcaraz started cramping, that at the end of the 2nd set, he felt both players were at their physical limit. He was very grateful, I'm sure, to barely have to play a point in anger after Alcaraz started cramping. Very short 2nd serve. It looked very tight, that again from Djokovic. It's deuce, it's back on serve. He's 3-4 down, and he now has the advantage as Ruud goes long. A chance to draw level at 4 games all.
You feel like Casper has to start realizing that Djokovic is getting tight on that 2nd serve, move around or move a little closer up so he can really attack that ball. He's allowing Novak to have a little bit more time after that return. This is where you have to sense the moment. You have to sense your opponent is tight and make him play and become the aggressor throughout.
Game point Djokovic for 4-all. Forehand return from Ruud. Djokovic with the mid-court ball, and he has won the game. He saved a break point, and having been 1-4 down after 50 minutes, this first set is now level at 4 games all. And for all the encouragement of the first 8 games, in a sense, Casper Ruud's got very little to show for it, Greg.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. Yes, he doesn't have a lot to show for it, but this is the best he has started in a major final on his 3rd occasion, and he's playing one of the legends of the game as Ruud's going to the chair umpire right now to have a little discussion.
He knows, I know that next time it's going to happen. I told him I'm going to call you from there, that we will communicate. Next time it happens. So don't put pressure, I do my job.
What was that all about?
I think it's about the time limit that Novak's taking in between points, and he says, you know, you've got to start warning him about taking extra time in between points. And he said, he's done it on 2 occasions now, and he said, don't do my job. Dimi Swazi's a little bit fiery as a chair umpire. And,
I like him.
You know, Casper usually doesn't complain about things, so it must be getting to him.
4 games all, but he did suggest, didn't he there, the umpire, that he was aware that Djokovic was pushing his luck and that maybe next time he would step in. Ruud has missed a forehand down the line.
But also, I think the fact that he's just missed that forehand, he's distracted, and Djokovic is just sort of stretching out his left thigh, is it?
He is, yeah. Very, very visibly. Now, we see this quite a lot from Djokovic. He doesn't try and hide minor ailments that he has, but that was him very much flexing that left thigh and trying to put some pressure on the knee at the back of the court. He's ready to go again here at love 15 on the Ruud serve, the Norwegian into the net.
Yeah, I just saw a replay and what happened there, and his foot landed on a previous backhand and slid and then kind of jarred backwards. It was horrible, actually.
Backhand return from Djokovic. Big forehand from Ruud. Great defense from Djokovic. Lands it on the baseline. Another big forehand from Ruud, who comes forward and he can't make the half volley. Lovely dipping return by Djokovic, and it could be about to change around spectacularly quickly here on the Philippe Chatrier court, because having been 4-1 down, Djokovic has love 30 on the Ruud serve at 4 games all.
Well, the other thing is you talk about that and sort of this little problem he had with the foot there. I think it's fine. He was stretching the hamstring, and from that movement, it looks like he's absolutely fine. He's one of the guys who knows how to deal with these things better than anybody.
Yeah, it's the first time we've seen Casper Ruud just start to turn around his camp and start shouting at them, so you know he's feeling uncomfortable. I mean, he couldn't have played this first 52 minutes any better than he's played. I don't think Djokovic could have played it any worse, but look at the scoreline. 4-all, love 30.
And a second serve being hit by Ruud here to the backhand of Djokovic. Ruud's backhand cross-court. Backhand cross-court Djokovic. Ruud down the line with a forehand. Djokovic cross-court with a forehand right into the corner. Now he's got a mid-court ball, Djokovic. Ruud with the lob. It was his only option. It's a pretty handy one. Djokovic lets it bounce and very carefully puts a forehand back in play. So he's conceded the initiative in this rally, and a wide backhand from Djokovic. So that was a little bit of a surprise given the position in this game. Love 30 becomes 15-30.
And Djokovic just he lost balance again at the end of that backhand, and he's leaning over his towel. I actually think this occasion, I don't know, but it looks to me like physically he's feeling a bit sicky from just the pressure and the nerves and everything. You know, just the way that he's moving, it's not quite how we see him normally. And I think almost every point it's physically taking its toll on him because of the pressure.
Exactly, I'd agree with you completely. It's all about tension right now. And this is a huge moment for Ruud here to come up with an ace here to go to 30 all, because the fact that you know, the momentum at love 30 looked to be going Djokovic's way, and this is where he's got to weather the storm, the Norwegian, if he's going to have a chance to win his first major. Because once Djokovic gets up a set or starts flowing, you get into a lot of trouble when he relaxes into it.
Yeah, I think if he did get that set under his belt, we'd see a lot more freedom from the way he's playing right now. He looks quite shackled, to be honest.
4-all, 30-all. Certainly Ruud has had less tennis over the last couple of rounds. He beat Holger Rune in the quarterfinals in 4 sets, and then Alex Zverev in straight sets, 6-3, 6-4, 6-love in a very quick semi-final. Djokovic has had a longer match against Karen Khachanov and then 2 brutal sets against Carlos Alcaraz at the start of the semi-final. Forehand by Djokovic to the backhand of Ruud. Djokovic cross-court with a backhand. Ruud's backhand, backhand Djokovic. Ruud cross-court with a forehand. Djokovic now with more power on that forehand. Is into the net from Ruud. The drop shot into the net, and he's just given Novak Djokovic a break point.
Yeah, it was even sort of like a slice short shot, wasn't it, to try to draw Djokovic in. It's a clever shot, that one, and I always admire players who use that tactically to try and then pass opponents, but he just didn't get hold of it. It was a bit of a panic shot that time, and this is the first moment where you might feel Djokovic is about to take control of the first set.
To win a 4th game in a row, Djokovic, for a 5-4 lead. And with a second serve of Casper Ruud about to head his way. Backhand return, Djokovic. Slice backhand from Ruud. Djokovic cross-court with the backhand. Ruud cross-court with the backhand. Forehand now for Ruud. Hitting back into that Djokovic backhand corner again. Djokovic has the break point. A very nicely judged backhand cross-court from Djokovic. Now, from his backhand corner, he returns on the forehand. Backhand cross-court again from Djokovic. He's targeting that Ruud backhand. Now Ruud has room for a forehand, which he hits more powerfully, and that is good enough to win in the point and save the break point.
Yeah, and Djokovic is doubled over after that point, which wasn't overly long, but again, it just shows you what he's feeling inside physically. I just think he seems to be losing a lot of power on the forehand side.
Well, I think what's really hurt Novak today is his transition game coming forward, having missed those overheads.
Yeah.
Sometimes he's doubting himself when he puts himself in good positions in the point, and that just puts a little bit more doubt, a little bit more tension in your mind. But also, you have to give a lot of credit to Casper. He's played a very good match so far.
4 games all, juice.
Well, I guess it takes away that tactic of Novak, who might want to have come forward on a few points, and now he doesn't really want to because he knows that lob is going to be hoisted up. He's probably not going to win the point.
Second serve from Ruud, backhand cross-court from Ruud, and now the volley from Ruud, and Djokovic has fallen over, which is not a nice experience on any court, really, especially on a clay court or a hard court, and he's made a real mess of his top, and he's walking, okay, I think, towards his chair, but he's going to need one of those wet towels from the fridge to try and brush himself down, and maybe a new red top from his kit bag.
He's leaning over, isn't he? That was pretty horrible, actually. I'm not quite sure what happened. He's been sliding around all over the place. In fact, when we've just had a look at it on the replay, it actually wasn't too bad the way he went down. It was quite a careful sort of slide.
There's nothing happening there with an injury. I think it's more the tension, the situation, getting a little extra time in between the points here just to get a little bit more air. So doing the right thing there, taking advantage of the situation.
You might want to change that top at the next change of ends.
Yep, keeping it on for at least one more point. Casper Ruud has the advantage. He saved a break point, hits the service line. Good return, though, from Djokovic, but a fine forehand down the line from Ruud, who's coming forward. Hits the forehand far from convincingly, but the smash is a lot better. And now, encouragement, applause for Casper Ruud, who celebrates himself, because that was such an important hold. Djokovic had won 3 games in a row, had another break point, but instead Ruud holds for 5-4 in this enthralling first set of the men's singles final from Paris on 5 Live, the World Service and BBC Sounds.
Yeah, he did really well to get out of that game, and I think Djokovic will be sitting here quite furious that he didn't get that break of serve, having the break point, and played some better tennis. But I don't know, Greg, I don't know how you feel. I just feel like physically he's suffering a little bit out here.
Well, I think the physical problems are due with the mental problems.
Yeah.
When you're behind all the time, your opponent's playing well against you, How often do we see Novak 4-all, love 30, hesitate when he has a chance to come forward or take advantage of the rally? You know, it's having to deal with a player who's inspired, and on top of that, having to deal with the expectation of trying to win your 23rd major.
Well, again, sort of talking to the ball kids, he's talking to the chair umpire. There's not, you know, there's just a lot going on the side of Novak Djokovic. I feel that with the tennis that he's played, because Casper Ruud played by far the better tennis in this first set, he's done well to even keep it as tight as he has, to be honest.
Yeah, and Casper Ruud will know how important it is to capitalise on the way he's played and Novak Djokovic's early anxiety. He is playing a man who is the second oldest men's finalist in French Open history. Only Bill Tilden, who was 37 in 1930, has been older. Djokovic will be the oldest champion. He'll eclipse Rafael Nadal by a few days if he wins the title, but we just know what sort of condition he is in, and therefore I'm sure he's going to continue to break all these age-related records over whatever is left of his career. Right here, though, after precisely 60 minutes on court, he's serving to stay in the first set at 4-5, and he's missed a first serve, Djokovic.
Casper Ruud has just sent that change of ends 2 rackets off with a ball kid who's sprinted to the corner of the court to hand them across.
Forehand return from Ruud. He's attacking and he's hitting the baseline. Good defense from Djokovic. Drop shot Ruud. Djokovic slices the backhand to the back of the court. The lob from Ruud is a really, really good one. Djokovic was beaten by that. He's knocked it over his shoulder, having let it bounce, but he's not able to find the court. The execution there was just sensational from Casper Ruud.
No, absolutely brilliant. It all started with an unbelievable return deep in the corner. Brings Novak forward, and just beautiful with the topspin lob. There was nothing Novak could do about this. This is where it gets really pressure-filled for Novak, because the Norwegian's throwing the kitchen sink out at him right now, and if he can play this sort of fearless tennis, he's got a real shot.
Yeah, he has. He's doing everything right at the moment.
4-5 and love 15. Djokovic will wait for some quiet, for some decorum.
The sun's just come out really brightly as well, which is going to be in his eyes.
He's found the service line with that first serve. He'll now play the drop shot. Ruud is there. Djokovic with the lob volley. Ruud now running back. Here's the tweener, and it's an overhead for Djokovic, which he just taps back into court. Ruud goes cross court, and Djokovic nets as he loses his balance again. And he's love 30 down as he serves to stay in the first set.
Well, it's just so smart of Ruud to be able to keep putting these high, loopy balls up, you know, as if he's going to have to smash them. And he knows that Djokovic is so tense on the smash right now, and he didn't want to hit that one either. So no wonder he's come out on top of that rally.
Well, if Novak doesn't decide to hit the overhead and be aggressive, it could be very costly to his chances of winning this title right now. But Ruud tactically has been brilliant.
Yeah, and he even hit a tweener in that last rally as well. Who could have believed that Casper Ruud could turn that point around?
Well, it was a tweener lob a la Rafael Nadal.
Incredible. And now, as Annabelle pointed out, with the sun coming out for the first time this afternoon, Djokovic is having to get used to serving from the far end in these conditions. 4-5, love 30. What a couple of points from Ruud in this game. Forehand return, can he set up set points? Forehand Djokovic down the line, Ruud with the slice backhand, Djokovic with the volley. Very secure, he's a 7-time Wimbledon champion after all.
There's almost a stubbornness about Djokovic there on that last point. Like, I don't care if you're going to throw another lob up, I'm coming forward anyway, and I'm just going to try and face the music when I'm up there.
But what I was surprised with Casper, why didn't he throw up the lob? You know he's tense there. The volley's the easy one to handle. A little tactical mistake in my opinion.
15-30. Remember, Casper Ruud has never won a set off Novak Djokovic in their 4 previous meetings. Backhand return. Djokovic with the forehand. Ruud with the backhand down the line, but wide.
Well, with his back up against the wall right here, Novak Djokovic, he looks like there's just a certain grittiness that's going to come into play right now.
Well, the other thing is those 2 returns were quite short, so it allowed Novak to take the ball and go forward, because the depth and the return of Casper has been so impressive. Especially, I'd like to see him at those moments try to use that high heavy looping return we saw him do earlier on in the set. Is anything short that's not so high is going to be punished.
This grueling first set continues. 4-5, 30 all, 63 minutes on the clock already. Djokovic misses the first serve. The ground staff have appeared behind the clock in the far corner of the court. We have been pointing this out on a few occasions here at Roland Garros this fortnight. They're out there to sweep the court. It's the equivalent of the stewards moving into position before close of play at the cricket or at the football. As Ruud misses a forehand, they may have to wait some time before they can sweep this court, because it's now game point Djokovic for a 5-all scoreline in this first set.
Yeah, that will feel like one of the cheapest points that Novak has had for the entire set. I mean, he's had to work so incredibly hard to keep that scoreline as tight as it is, and that was a real freebie right there.
Brilliant first set of tennis. Greg Rosetsky and Annabel Croft are here. And which way is it going to go? Djokovic to the backhand of Ruud. Down the line, Djokovic with the backhand. Ruud's forehand is long. And Djokovic from love 30 wins 4 points in a row. And it's 5 games all first set.
See, this is the difference right now between Ruud and Djokovic. At the very biggest moments, you know, Ruud's hoping that Djokovic is going to miss rather than going for it when he was up love 30 and being a little bit braver, a little bit bolder. While Novak, when his back is against the wall, gets more and more aggressive. And if you're going to win these big major championships, that's what the very best do. At the biggest moments, they play their best tennis.
Five games all here in Paris. In Surbiton and southwest London, Andy Murray is well on his way to an ATP Challenger title on the grass. He is a set and 3-1 up against Yuri Rodionov of Austria. That is on the BBC iPlayer, BBC Sport website and app. You might want to watch that. You might want to listen to us. And that was a forehand into the net from Ruud. So 5-all, love 15. And he misses a first serve. The lines judge guarding the central line just takes a glancing blow on the shin. Second serve, Ruud at love 15. Backhand return with plenty of air from Djokovic. Ruud's forehand, Djokovic backhand, that's long.
That is so frustrating. No wonder you can hear him shouting there, because that was an opportunity, wasn't it?
It was, but it was interesting to see Goran's reaction. He's like showing him hit the looper, step in and rifle it, go for it up the line. So a little conversation between player and coach there.
All legal and above board these days on the tour and at this French Open. Short return from Djokovic, but he's still in this rally. Ruud with a very nice backhand volley just punched down the line as Djokovic was threatening to mess him around a little bit in that point.
It was a stunning volley. I mean, he just chipped his forehand, Novak, to make that volley as difficult as possible, and it was below the height of the net, but what a beautiful shot that was.
Well, it's excellent movement, wasn't it, Annabelle?
Yeah.
Getting there early, not letting the ball drip down into his feet, so excellent. I agree with you on that one, Annabelle.
30-15, backhand return from Djokovic. Forehand onto the sideline by Ruud. What a reply.
Well, for all the sort of toing and froing of this first set, and there was that moment where he was facing those break points at 4-all, Ruud seems to have suddenly found another gear again, just to keep on ramping up the pressure on Novak. Still hasn't been able to draw clear in this set psychologically from Casper Ruud. Oh, that's frustrating, isn't it?
Just a bit. At 40-15 and 5 games all. We're not hearing from the band very much in this final. It was the same in the women's final yesterday. Well, I just had a look down because they're sitting in front of us, and with the exception of the drummer, it looks like they've had their instruments confiscated. Or rather been told, you enjoy the finals, you've been brilliant for us all fortnight, we'll let the players do the talking. Volley Ruud to win the game, he leads by 6 games to 5. I'm now hearing somebody with better eyesight than me. They have trumpets between their legs. So we may get a burst from the band at the change of ends. Oh, hello, here's Novak Djokovic.
Where is the rush? Why are you rushing?
I'm not.
You weren't starting the clock.
No, we call a score game and we start. It's like that since the beginning of the
sit
tournament.
down and then call the score, for God's sake. Can you call the score when we come down or not?
Okay, but that's not with you since the beginning. Why? I don't know why
No,
you change.
since the beginning. I mean, we're playing 1 hour, 10 minutes, one set.
I know.
Best of 5 Grand Slam on clay.
Yes.
And you were calling Russian score is 10 seconds left.
Novak, you can see that I'm really trying to understand it.
No, I understand, but the changeover. I'm talking about the changeover.
There's no TV changeover, so that's all right.
So I think Novak Djokovic feels the umpire is calling the score and starting the clock too
early.
quickly.
That's what I think.
For the change of ends, so he doesn't feel like he's getting full value for the 60 seconds, which he needs given the length of this first set and the fact that it's a best-of-5 set Grand Slam final.
Well, I don't blame Casper Ruud for saying get that clock going quicker, because the younger man is going to want that. Casper's complained about that in the past, and Djokovic just showing, hey, remember me, I'm the guy who's got 22 slams here. Show me a little bit of respect, give me a little bit of time. It is physically draining, so trying to get a little bit of an advantage there if he can and push the rules so it favors him a little bit more.
Yeah, well, he made the point, and he said, look, it's an hour and 10 minutes already for this first set, and it's a best-of-5 set match. Give us a break.
I mean, the chair umpire does have a little bit of a discretion in the rules if he wants to do it, so you'd hate to see this determined by a few seconds here or there rather than by the tennis.
Yeah.
But if it's 60 seconds, then you've got to play by the rules, haven't you? And it's a big difference to a very entertaining conversation that Djokovic had with Mohamed Leani, the chair umpire in Rome, when he was criticizing him for calling the score too slowly, because he has a famously loud voice and he likes to jump in quite dramatically, Mohamed Leani from Sweden. I'll continue this story in a minute as Djokovic serves, hits a forehand to the forehand of Ruud. Forehand cross-court Djokovic, Ruud with a forehand. Djokovic's forehand down the line. Backhand slice from Ruud is over the baseline. I think it was in the match against Holger Rune, perhaps, that Djokovic lost, and he was saying, why are you such a showman, effectively? Why are you reading the score so theatrically and so slowly in English and in Italian?
Well, you know, us tennis players like to have things suit us. When it wants to go quickly, we want the score quicker. When we want things to go slowly, we want the chair umpire to take a little bit more dramatic flair to the score calling.
And umpires are supposed to know that. 5-6, 15 love. Backhand return from Casper Ruud. Cross-court with a forehand he goes. Djokovic cross-court with a forehand onto the Ruud forehand. Forehand Djokovic, backhand slice Ruud. Djokovic cross-court with the backhand. Ruud down the line with the backhand. Djokovic's forehand. Now Ruud down the line with the backhand. Winner.
I mean, I don't know how many winners Djokovic has actually hit in this first set, but it certainly feels like he's not winning his points with a lot of winners, whereas Ruud is definitely hitting with more winners. I don't know what it is. You've got it probably in front of you there, Greg, if you can decipher all those different stats. But do you know what I mean? It feels like normally when we watch Djokovic, he'll win points with a lot of winners.
Yeah, no, the winner ratio is 14 for Casper and 8 for Novak Djokovic.
Yeah, so it is a big difference.
15 all as Djokovic serves to stay in the set. An ace.
But the thing that's impressed me today from Ruud is how good the backhand has been on the big moments, as we saw in the previous points. And for me, if he's going to win this title or have a chance, that shot has to keep on firing in the manner it has in this opening set so far.
Well, also, I can only see Djokovic's level going in one direction, which has got to be up from where it's at now. It's been as low as possibly in the whole championships, but that's a lot to do with how Casper Ruud has played and the occasion.
5-6 and 30-15, now 40-15, a meaty forehand winner by Novak Djokovic. He said that he left part of him in the locker room in the early stages of his quarter-final with Karen Khachanov. May feel a bit the same today, but just to your point, he finished that match absolutely brilliantly.
Yeah, he needed to as well. You know, and that's one thing he would have wanted to do, is to finish matches like that, playing much better than he had at the start.
2 points Djokovic has for a tie-break here. Down the middle he goes. Forehand Djokovic, Ruud with a slice backhand. Djokovic is dragged into the forecourt and he plays a nicely judged drop shot and holds without any fuss at all. And it is 6 games all. And after Ruud broke first and led by 4 games to 1, Djokovic, as you'd expect him to, even if he's struggling a little bit to find his A game here, has come back and forced the tie-break, which will begin 73 minutes into the first set.
I mean, it's just incredible to think about it. 73 minutes and you still haven't finished the first set. And this tiebreaker, if it's anything like we've seen this opening set, could take a little while.
Casper Ruud will serve first. He's hitting a forehand from in front of the President's box where the Coupe des Mousquetaires is perched. Forehand cross-court from Ruud. Djokovic with the forehand into the middle of the court. Ruud hits his backhand. Djokovic with the backhand to the Ruud backhand. Djokovic's forehand. Ruud cross-court with more power on the forehand. Djokovic on the run with his best winner of the match. A forehand winner just a few inches inside the baseline.
Well, that's the best movement I've seen, Greg, from Novak Djokovic, out wide to that forehand. We've seen that so many times from Casper Ruud in that first set. He's telling himself, Casper Ruud, to calm down after that one, and he's turning around to his dad. But that's definitely the best shot we've seen from Novak Djokovic of the set.
Well, it is, and you know, he'd been missing that forehand on the run early on in this match, and that was just pure time. And it cometh the hour, cometh the man. Team's up there saying, right now, go after that forehand, and that's what he did.
Djokovic has won 14 of his 18 tie-breaks this year. Ruud has won 11 of his 18. The lob from Ruud, it was a service return lob, and it's got Djokovic sprinting back to the baseline. Ruud with the forehand. He's got Djokovic a long way behind the baseline at the moment, but Djokovic is slowly regaining ground. Forehand Djokovic onto the backhand of Ruud. That's smashed down the line. Djokovic with the forehand. Drop shot from Ruud. Djokovic drop shot cross-court. Ruud cross-court, but there's Djokovic. And there's the backhand volley. And there's the fist in the air in celebration.
I mean, what a quality of tennis we're seeing now. That return was sensational. But Djokovic just guessing the right way, not moving his position, expecting the Norwegian to go back cross court and just getting this crowd fired up. This is absolutely a brilliant start from the third player on the planet. If he wins today, he'll be back to where he belongs, world #1.
Yeah, that was an exhilarating point, and what an unusual return, wasn't it, as Djokovic was serving and volleying, and then he just knew to throw up that horrible high lob, knowing that Djokovic did not want to smash it once again, got pegged back on the baseline.
Jamie Murray likes to hit that return in the doubles,
Yes.
doesn't he?
Yeah,
the lob
definitely.
service return. This is what Djokovic does when the chips are down. He leads the tiebreak by 2 points to love. Slice backhand Ruud. Djokovic with a forehand. Ruud's backhand cross-court. Djokovic cross-court backhand. Ruud cross-court with a backhand. Djokovic cross-court with a backhand. Ruud with more power cross-court with a backhand. Forehand Ruud down the line. Djokovic is now on the back foot. Sends the moon ball onto the forehand of Ruud, and he's missed.
Well, he's just started to eke into the psyche of Casper Ruud, who has just started to doubt himself for the first time in the set after 1 hour and 16 minutes. It's quite unbelievable to have witnessed it.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. And there was one excellent point you made at the beginning of this tiebreaker, the movement of Djokovic. That's what's allowing him to execute and defend that little bit better. It's like he's got half a step more in this tiebreaker than he had all match long.
Yeah, he just looks smoother in how he's moving, and it looks like he's just got rid of some of that awful tension, that sort of sickness feeling that you could feel inside him when he was playing most of this first set.
Ruud is love 3 down in the tiebreak. First to 7 will win it. He does have 2 serves to come here, and he's won the first point with a forehand down the line. All is most certainly not lost in the breaker yet for the 24-year-old from Oslo, the man who's been in a French Open final in 2022, the US Open final in 2022, and now finds him back in the championship match at Roland Garros. Couldn't have asked for 3 harder opponents: Rafael Nadal, Carlos Alcaraz, and now Novak Djokovic. 1-3, BBC Sounds. Ruud serves, and a let means he has 2 serves still to come. That ball boy sounded a little bit tired. Heavy tread, heavy footwork as he made his way back to the back of the court. Good serve from Ruud, fine return by Djokovic, backhand Djokovic. Ruud with the volley cross-court. Djokovic wins the point. Cross-court backhand, Ruud stretching, nets the volley, And Djokovic, with real daylight between him and his opponent now, leads this tie-break by 4 points to 1.
Oh, that was beautiful to watch, wasn't it? He knew exactly where he needed to place himself to be able to make that volley difficult. Wonderful balance as he went for that attempted passing shot, but he also got a little bit more on that backhand, didn't he, Greg?
He did, and on top of that, give Casper a lot of credit. It was a really great first volley, but right now Casper's having a little discussion with his coaching team saying, what do I need to do at the moment? What do I need to change? Down 2 mini breaks in this tiebreaker.
Djokovic has 2 serves to come and leads by 4 points to 1. Line judge stretches his left arm out horizontally. Turquoise top, blue trousers, white shoes. At the far end as we watch, just a few paces behind Casper Ruud. He's now returning on the forehand. Backhand from Novak Djokovic. Ruud wide with the backhand. That's a really, really bad miss in a tiebreak. And Djokovic leads 5-1 at the change of ends.
Well, it really most certainly feels like this is the match right here, isn't it, in this first set. And the level that Djokovic has played most of it at, you just have to admire his tenacity and grit and determination and stickability to be able to sort of play as badly as he did, to be honest, in the most of this first set, to be able to turn it around the way that he is. And so much of it is in his reputation that he's bringing into this set.
Well, he is, and on top of that, we talked about one shot which is important, the backhand side for Casper, and that backhand isn't firing in this tiebreaker where Novak has raised his game. So it's been a combination of two, but I agree with you, Annabelle, this opening set is huge. Something Casper hasn't been able to do against Djokovic is win a set yet in all 4 occasions they met previously.
Djokovic has played 4 tiebreaks at this French Open. He's won them all, and the one that really springs to mind was the 7-love second set tiebreak against Karen Khachanov, which was absolutely perfect, not an unforced error in sight, and that having lost the first set, and that is an ace by Djokovic. He moves to 6-1 as Andy Murray, his great rival over so many years, is thwarted by the rain at Surbiton, with him leading the challenger final there by a set and 3-1 against Yuri Rodionov on a much bigger stage, the stage that Novak Djokovic loves to frequent. He has 5 set points to win this tiebreak. 1-6, Casper Ruud misses the first serve. 81 minutes of toil on a hot and humid and fairly cloudy Parisian afternoon, but Ruud may have nothing to show for it. Backhand cross-court return, Djokovic on the first of these 5 set points. Backhand Ruud. Djokovic with the backhand down the centre. Ruud's forehand. Djokovic with a really powerful forehand. Ruud's in defence mode. Djokovic with a forehand to win it. 7 points to 1. Having been 4-1 down in the set. That is why Novak Djokovic is a 22-time Grand Slam champion. And Greg and Annabelle now has a huge boost in his hopes of winning Slam number 23.
I mean, it must be so demoralising for Casper Ruud, who literally was playing some sensational tennis to get himself in the lead there. He couldn't have played it any better, and for him to sit down at this change of ends must be scratching his head as to how on earth he came out second best. And Djokovic has gathered all his belongings up and he's trudging off the court for a quick change of clothes. Maybe, I don't know if he has time for a quick sprinkle through the shower, I'm sure not, but you know, he wants to go and freshen up, but you know, he's firmly, well, he's got one finger on that trophy, hasn't he?
Well, he does, and Casper is doing the same. They both brought their kit bags with them. They're going to get a change of clothes, freshen up, some new shoes as well. So what an opening first set. But I agree with you, Annabelle. Momentum with Djokovic, starting to play with freedom, starting to play a little bit more fearlessly. It's going to be an uphill battle for Casper Ruud from now on in.
They look like they're both heading off to the spa, weekend bag over their shoulders. They are allowed 5 minutes in total if they use the facilities and change their clothes. So there may be a little bit of a delay until the second set begins, but I think on a day like today, who can really blame them? Djokovic, in 81 minutes, takes the first set on a tiebreak by 7 points to 1.
Russell, thank you. What a first set. We have just witnessed an hour and 21 minutes of fascinating tennis, and it is Novak Djokovic who takes the first set. We'll be back to Roland Garros with Russell and the team in a moment as they catch their breath. But let's pause and get the latest news headlines here on 5 Live with Matthew Bone.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Thanks, Aaron. And we'll start with that big political story that's broken during that first set. Police investigating the Scottish National Party's funding and finances have arrested the former First Minister Nicola Sturgeon. In the last half hour, a spokesperson for the former SNP leader said she'd voluntarily attended an interview with Police Scotland and that she would cooperate with the investigation. Jamie McIver is BBC Scotland's political correspondent.
There had been a widespread anticipation in Scottish political circles that it was entirely possible that Nicola Sturgeon would be arrested and questioned at some point in this investigation. Now, Nicola Sturgeon is the third senior person in the SNP to be arrested and questioned by detectives within recent weeks. You'll remember that the party's former chief executive and her husband, Peter Murrell, was arrested and questioned a few weeks ago, followed 2 weeks later by the party's former treasurer, Colin Beattie. They were spoken to for several hours by detectives and later released without charge. So certainly, though it is a huge development now, the question, though, is exactly what police will be speaking to Nicola Sturgeon about. Obviously, we're very restricted in what we can say, but police do say that in time a report will go to the Scottish law officer.
In other news, 6 teenagers have been arrested in Bath on suspicion of murder after a 16-year-old boy was stabbed yesterday. A 35-year-old woman was also stabbed and has received hospital treatment. A search is continuing for 3 British tourists who are missing after their boat caught fire near the Egyptian Red Sea resort of Marsa Alam. 12 other British tourists were rescued. And thunderstorms and temperatures of up to 30 degrees Celsius are forecast this afternoon after the UK saw its hottest day of the year yesterday. There are warnings of heavy rain, hail, strong winds and lightning in some areas.
Hello, I'm Jade Adams. Welcome to the neighbourhood.
I came for banter.
I'll be your tour guide as we explore the peculiar world of local social media groups.
So as long as it's nothing to do with me, reading people arguing soothes me.
I'll be picking up guests along the way, delving into their hometowns' dramas.
It's a grenade.
Like Nick Grimshaw and self-esteem.
If you think I should cover this one up, we should see my other one.
Welcome to the neighbourhood with me, Jade Adams. Listen on BBC Sounds.
5 Live Sport
with Aaron Paul.
Yeah, welcome back to Sunday's 5 Live Sport. We'll be back at Roland Garros in a moment, but first, across the world of sport, Australia have won the World Test Championship final after beating India by 209 runs at the Oval. Elsewhere, the Southern Vipers have won the Charlotte Edwards Cup after a 7-wicket victory against the Blaze. Meanwhile, the Vipers bowler Anya Shrubsole has announced she'll retire from professional cricket after the 100 this year. In the Super League, it's Wakefield Trinity 10, Leeds Rhinos 0, and Saracens lead Exeter 14-0 in the semi-final of the Women's Premier 15's playoffs. Over on Radio 5 Sports Extra now, you can hear commentary in the Men's County Championship. It's day 1 of Nottinghamshire against Warwickshire. Here on 5 Live, we are very much in and amongst the French Open. Let's head back to Court Philippe Chatrier for the second set between Novak Djokovic and Casper Ruud, and this time to David Law.
Thank you very much, Aaron. Yes, we are still waiting for the return of Novak Djokovic and Casper Ruud from their comfort breaks and their clothing attire changes after that incredibly long first set, an hour and 20 minutes in duration. And I'll preface what I'm about to say by saying do not turn off your radios and do not turn off your BBC Sounds app, because in sport anything can happen and you never know. However, Novak Djokovic has now won 98 Grand Slam matches in a row when he's won the first set.
Wow, that is quite a stat, David, isn't it? That is extraordinary. And I'm still sitting here aghast at how he managed to turn around such an awful start. It's one of the worst starts that we could have imagined for him in this, huge historic occasion where he's trying to become, the overall title holder in terms of Grand Slams in men's tennis. And Ruud could not have played any better, but somehow he managed to get rid of all that nerves and tension that was coursing through his body for the majority of that set, until by the very end we started to see what he's capable of on a match court. And the stat that you've just read, well, I mean, you can only imagine what Casper Ruud is feeling right now.
Well, I thought Casper played probably one of his best sets I've seen in a major final, especially comparing to last year when he played against Rafa. The backhand was firing. He was aggressive on the forehand side. He kept everything on his terms, but still didn't find a way to win that set. And I think not closing out that opening set will be hugely against him as Djokovic takes a little bit more time. We see Casper Ruud come onto court first here, and the only optimism there is physically, when you get to 36 years of age, it gets harder and harder. This set is huge for the Norwegian. He has to find a way to win this one to make it a match, because imagine what the record is when he goes up 2 sets to love.
Oh yeah,
it must be even better than 98.
Well, absolutely. And here comes Djokovic back onto court. Both players have had a full change of clothes, and you're right. I mean, if Casper Ruud wins this set and makes it a best of 3 set match, it really would be interesting.
Yeah, it would be interesting, but I'm just not quite sure. I mean, he could not have had a worse sort of Novak Djokovic version down the other end than he had in that first set. And for him to psychologically sit here and think, well, I couldn't have done much more than I did, but I still came out second best. And of course, with the freedom of that first set behind him, we know that Djokovic's level is going to go up and up and up, and he's going to get that much more difficult to play.
We remember what he did to Karen Khachanov in the third set after he had levelled at 1 set all, and he'd come out similarly to this, not looking great, frankly, and he admitted that afterwards. He won the tie-break 7-love, and I think the third set he played was the best set I've seen by anybody all tournament. And just on the tie-breaks, he's now played 55 tie-break points at this tournament this fortnight. He's made 0 unforced errors.
Wow, that's unbelievable. That just shows you the mindset that he has, the experience of how to play moments, different score lines, what to do, apply his formula. And I have to say, he looks very pristine now that he's had that change of clothes. I mean, he was looking a bit disheveled by the end of it, wasn't he? Covered in clay all over his body when he'd fallen over so many times, but he's back to his pristine self.
Well, he'd want a pristine service game here right now to keep the momentum going, but if you're Casper Ruud, you're thinking, okay, let's get off to a good start again like we did in the opener.
Yeah, he's got to dust himself down now, has Ruud, because at least he knows he can hurt Djokovic, because he's just done it. He's never won a set against him before. He's now played 9 sets against Djokovic over 4 and a bit matches, and he hasn't won any of those sets, but he came very close. He was up a break in that first set. He had love 30 with the scores level at the back end of it, but he didn't get the job done. Can he find something in this second set to turn it around? Inside out forehand from Ruud of Norway, who plays a little backhand stop volley, but he doesn't get it right, and he's just sort of knocked it over on the second attempt there.
Well, the other thing is, you look at Novak, he looks so calm now. It's like, okay, first set over, I had all my stress, I had all my tension. I'm back to being the best player on the planet. I feel supremely confident. And this is where Casper's got to show us something. He's got to show some physicality, some firepower, some emotion, get the crowd on his side.
Yeah, he's got to have some good news. And I think you're right about the crowd. And he's got to hurt Djokovic a little bit somehow, but Djokovic plays the ball back to him, but inside out with a forehand, but that races away from Ruud. A little bit of a bad bounce perhaps for Ruud there. It's 30-love.
He rolled through, didn't it? That was a really weird bounce. But I mean, he'll be feeling the difference of what's down the other end now. I mean, he knew that Djokovic was really quaking throughout most of that first set. He had all the right tactics, throwing in those lobs when he couldn't smash, and everything he did with the backhand, as Greg been talking about. But he knows that Djokovic is a different opponent right now.
Yeah, he sure is. Here's Ruud at the far end of the court. He's netted a backhand. That was not a good shot at all. This is 40-love Djokovic, who won the first set in 1 hour and 20 minutes. It's the men's singles final of the French Open here at Roland Garros in Paris, and we're just underneath the roof looking down. Greg Rosetsky, the 1997 US Open finalist, Annabelle Croft. We're with us on BBC Sounds and 5 Live and the BBC World Service as Djokovic hits an ace out wide, and frankly, as he trots back to his chair, he looks like he's having a little knock-up with his son.
who's in the house, I think. I think we saw him earlier today, and he said how proud he was that his children were here with him at the French Open and enjoying watching his tennis. And of course, they love their tennis as well, particularly his son. We saw him in Turin, didn't we, sort of out on the practice court often when Novak was warming up. But I just think he looks, as Greg said, just looks like everything has drained out of him. All of that horrible sickness and tension and nerves and wobbles that we saw, I think that's all gone now. I think we're going to see an energized Novak Djokovic.
Well, for Casper Ruud coming up right now, his opening service game of the second set, he's got to hold on here right now because he doesn't want Novak to throw the hammer down. Let's see what the Norwegian's made of right now.
Yeah, Greg's right. Huge service game right now for Casper Ruud. He needs to send a message over the other end of the net here, the other side of the net, that he is not done, even though it's only 7-6, 1 love. He serves down the centre onto the backhand of Djokovic, who takes it on the rise, and already there's a crispness about the way Djokovic is striking the ball. He's standing up tall on the baseline. Big forehand in the middle from Ruud, but it's not denting the defences of Djokovic now. Djokovic hitting his backhand cross-court cleanly and extracting an error from the backhand of Ruud long.
Well, the other thing is, what's so noticeable is how close to the baseline Novak is now. In that opening set, he was being pushed behind the baseline, all the way back behind the baseline, and now all of a sudden Djokovic in the opening point against the Ruud serve was standing up on that second serve, taking it early, bossing the point.
And he looks suddenly, Djokovic, calm. He's won every point in this set so far, 5 in a row. Forehand return deep down the centre. Now he's going to pounce on this mid-court forehand and power it cross-court, and Ruud's got no answer.
Yeah, he looks in a hurry, doesn't he, to sort of get off to a really fast start, stamp authority and really start to intimidate Casper Ruud and take advantage of a rather deflated Norwegian down the other end after everything we just witnessed in that first set. It was extraordinary, it really was.
Yeah. And as Annabelle's been saying, Djokovic looked incredibly stressed in that first set, and when you look at what's at stake for him right here, it's really not surprising. He's trying to become, for the first time in his whole life, the leader in the men's game in terms of having Grand Slam singles titles. He's never been ahead of Nadal and Federer before, but he could be in the next couple of hours. 23 is the number he's looking for. Grand Slam singles titles. He and Nadal both on 22. Roger Federer has retired now on 20. Here's a forehand inside out struck by Djokovic, trying to set up break point at the start of the second set. There's a real snap to the ground strokes of Djokovic now. Backhand cross court, pushing Ruud around. Ruud with his backhand at an acute angle. He steps in with his forehand, and that's better from Casper Ruud.
Yeah, Djokovic knew as soon as he'd hit that backhand, he didn't do enough with it. He dropped it short. It was mid-court, straight into that strike zone of Casper Ruud. But there's definitely a sort of a sense of urgency about him now. He just looks completely different, just the way he's moving, the way he's hitting the ball. It's a different Novak Djokovic.
Yeah, Djokovic plants those red shoes of his about 15 feet behind the baseline on this browny orange clay court surface, which is made of crushed bricks with a sort of sandy, dusty top layer. If the wind's blowing, it blows in the player's eyes. Now, down the centre goes the serve, and that's just an astonishing return cross-court with a forehand by Djokovic.
I mean, incredible. That was just under 100 miles an hour, that second serve going for broke, and Djokovic is seeing it like a beach volleyball. Perfect start here. 2 break points early on.
Obviously, he's going to start to win points like that, whereas in the first set, he was having to win a lot of his points just from pure errors from Ruud.
Forehand cross-court by Ruud is a winner, and it sees off one of the 2 break points at 15-40. A little bit of an exercise of the leg from Djokovic just as he's walking back to position. Don't think there's an issue. And as Gregor's been saying, Ruud has just got to find a way to get through this game somehow. Settle down, feel like he's not done. Love one though, break point. Djokovic with a lofted backhand return that goes cross-court onto the forehand of Ruud, who smacks it cross-court. Another lofted slow ball from Djokovic. He's moonballing. Now he steps into the backhand. Forehand whipped cross-court by Ruud. Cross-court goes Djokovic and just wide. A shake of the fist from Casper Ruud. He's hanging on grimly, Annabelle.
Yeah, he is. He dealt with those moonballs pretty well, didn't he? And then he really blasted one into that forehand corner. Djokovic moved out to it a little bit better. It was so nearly a break of serve right there. He missed it by an inch or so, so I think he was disappointed. He raised his head to the sky. That was quite an important moment there.
Juice point. Ruud's done a good job to get out of trouble from 15-30. Can he get himself to gain point here? It's like he's hanging onto a cliff face at the moment and just trying to edge his way back up onto safe ground. Djokovic has set up 7-6, an hour and 20-minute first set. He was on the back foot virtually throughout that set. But suddenly in the last 20 minutes, he's reminded us just what an astonishing tennis player and champion he is. Down the centre goes the serve. Crashed cross-court forehand by Djokovic, who's pouncing now on an overhead, and there's no patting the overhead now. He's just swatting it away.
Well, I still have to hold my breath every time he goes to hit one because I'm never quite sure what's going to happen. But it was almost like he wanted to prove to himself that he can hit that overhead early in this second set.
Yeah, it wasn't the most convincing one, but it looked good compared to what we saw in the opening set. Sets up another break point chance for Novak.
This for 2-love for Novak Djokovic in the men's singles final at Roland Garros, having won the first set on a tiebreak. BBC Sounds, BBC 5 Live, BBC World Service. Here's a serve out wide onto the backhand of Djokovic. Down the line goes the backhand of Ruud. It's been a much improved shot throughout this tournament. Can it stand up against this examination though? Backhand cross court again from Djokovic, and an unforced error from Djokovic on the backhand, and he throws his arms out wide and he's ranting at Goran Ivanisevic. He can't believe, I don't think, Annabelle, given the form he's in, that he's actually missed that.
Well, it's unusual, but also I'm surprised to see him ranting and stressing this early in the second set when he's kind of in control of the match at the moment. He's set and 1-love up. He's trying to get a break here. Doesn't need to distract himself.
Forehand crunch cross court by both players. Here's a backhand with a bit of loft now from Djokovic. Ruud going for broke on his forehand. It's still not pushing Djokovic back. Now a chip backhand cross court from Ruud. He'll wind up into that forehand again. It's such easy power on that stroke, but it's answered in kind with a backhand from Djokovic. Then his forehand sliced down the line from Ruud, very nicely played. Then a forehand cross court, but how'd you beat Djokovic? He's still coming back at him. Now he tries to turn defence into attack with a forehand, and that was Novak Djokovic at his vintage best right there.
Well, he's still ranting at his support camp, and he's just hit the most blistering forehand winner. What a wonderful point that was, but he's still not happy.
Well, I think he's saying, come on, guys, get up and cheer me. That was better than that. So I think he's expecting his team to give him even more energy than they're doing at the moment.
I always feel a bit sorry for Goran Ivanisevic up there, because whenever he gets blasted, by Novak with his chuntering and shouting at him, he just looks a bit sort of like confused about what's going on.
Here's a big forehand by Ruud. Break point down for a fourth time in this second game. As he hits his forehand cross court, he's hitting great shots here, Casper Ruud. They're just not doing any damage. Backhand chip cross court. Chipped in kind by Djokovic. In comes Ruud. He's going to be lobbed here. Will it go over his head? No, he smashes. Then a backhand from Djokovic on the baseline. What a shot from Djokovic! How did he win that point? He turned it around from the most impossible position. And Casper Ruud must be wondering, what on earth can I do?
I mean, that's been brilliant from Novak Djokovic, also pointing to his head and pointing to his team and saying, I finally know how to beat this guy. And tactically doing the right things with that short slice, bringing his man forward, knowing exactly where Casper's going to put the overhead, and then crunching the backhand deep to get the break.
Yeah, I agree with you, Greg. And it just feels like he is just really... the rutting is over, and he's starting to completely take command of this final, this huge, huge match for him. And I think he has just unlocked the key to the Ruud's game.
Actually, I think Novak Djokovic's coaching team, they're saying, don't celebrate too much, just keep going.
Yeah.
Keep the momentum going. He's rattled now. You've got him. And I think that's what they think. 7-6, 2-love now, Djokovic, and 15-love with an ace.
Well, you can think as much as you want on the team, but it comes down to the player actually believing. And right now, the body language of Novak looks like, okay, I'm number one. I know I'm number one if I win this title, and I feel I've got the grasp of this. His accuracy on his ground strokes, his serve, everything's firing. Last point was a beautiful ace out wide.
Yeah.
First set was an hour and 20. This one could be 20, the way it's going, because Djokovic is just flying through it. Serve down the centre, and you've got to feel for Casper Ruud, because he's playing well in this set, Annabelle. It's just not enough.
No, it's not enough. It's just because the opponent down the other end is just completely transformed, and there's so much more pressure coming down that side. All the ground strokes have loosened up, and they're just flowing again. That timing on the ball, the precision, the balance. It's what we expect from 22 Grand Slam champion.
Ace out wide. His arm has loosened up now. It means the serve is flashing down. It's accurate. It's piercing. And it's 2-love, 40-love within a blink of an eye.
Yeah, it is amazing to see what tension does to a human body. you know, if you felt it, it's a horrible, horrible feeling. And I think for most of that first set, there was, you know, I think he was feeling quite physically sick from the tension, but he doesn't look like that right now.
Well, the thing which is amazing is he can be that physically sick and still beat one of the best players on the planet, number 4 in the world, in a tiebreaker. And then once he loosens up, it becomes a master class apart from that easy forehand error there.
Very unusual error from Djokovic. He actually thinks he's got his footwork just a little wrong there, but if you're going to make an error like that, best to do it at 40 love. So it's 7-6 Djokovic first set, 2 love in the second. Best of 5 sets, of course, in the men's singles at the Grand Slams and in this French Open final, in the absence of the injured Rafael Nadal, who's going to be out for the next, well, he's going to be out for the year, basically. Here's a mid-court backhand for Djokovic. He hits a little drop shot. He jogs back to his chair. He shakes the racket in his hands. He's going to sit down with a 3-love lead, and he's still giving dagger stares towards Goran Ivanisevic and team, as if to say, you know, I'm not done just yet, so stay with me. And he'll sit down, and I just don't know what Casper Ruud can possibly do about this, Greg? Any ideas?
Well, I think he's got to find a way to get that first serve percentage a little bit higher, not let Djokovic stand in on that second serve as he's done brilliantly early on this second set. And he's got to get his forehand into play and get really aggressive, because right now he's just getting bossed. Also, we haven't seen that play he used on the return of serve, which was that loopy backhand deep, really high return and that mix of pace. He's tried to go toe-to-toe at the same height. When you try to play the same height with Novak Djokovic with the ball strike, there's only one person who's going to win that one, and it ain't you for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. We talk a lot about the big Casper Ruud forehand, and there were several points in the second game when he was broken, when he connected with that forehand, and Djokovic got the better of those rallies.
Well, he did, but he's not using that one where he goes higher up with the ball, where he puts more rotation. Also, the backhand cross court with no pace, high on to the forehand side as well, which forces Djokovic to have to use his legs more to generate the pace himself. So you've got to find that combination right there.
I mean, it's so psychological. Matches always are, aren't they? And you know, it's how you deal with those situations, and also how you play tactically with that situation. And it's one thing to play a certain way when you know your opponent's nervous down the other end and it's going to work, but it's quite another thing when you play the same tactics and that opponent doesn't have that shackled sort of feel about their body.
Yeah. When Djokovic was toweling himself down in the previous game, his little towel box is right next to the entire team of Paris Saint-Germain, pretty much.
Oh, well spotted, David.
Kylian Mbappe is in the house. Olivier Giroud was in the same shot as Djokovic as he was toweling himself down. Forehand hit cross court by Djokovic, who's 3-love up now here in the second set, as he hits an inside-out forehand. Off the top of the net goes Ruud, and at least he gets a little bit of luck as the ball dribbles over, and he's at 15-love. We have reaction to Manchester City's Champions League final victory tomorrow night on the Monday Night Club for 7 o'clock with Mark Chapman, Chris Sutton, Shea Given and Rory Smith. And yes, I should know that, really should know that Olivier Giroud plays for AC Milan, not Paris Saint-Germain, but certainly Kylian Mbappe is in the house, and he is from that team. Here's a backhand down the line from Djokovic, and then, wow, a flex of the right arm, and down goes a bullet of a forehand.
Well, that was like a flash that just went through the court. And the weirdest thing was that it was so big a shot, and Casper Ruud was actually standing there and couldn't even see it come through him. He was actually in position, but he was just left absolutely stock still, like a statue.
He is shocked, I think, at the level coming his way right now. I mean, he's played him enough times and seen him enough times to know what Djokovic is capable of, but to feel it in a microcosm of these 4 or 5 games in that tie-break, when you're playing your best stuff, pretty much, which is what Ruud is, that must be a shocking experience. As he hits his forehand down the line, he's coming in. Backhand cross-court, just missed by about a foot from Djokovic.
Well, the big tests against the very best, whether it's Nadal, Djokovic, Murray, Federer, those sorts of players, is at a slam. Especially when you're playing them in a finals or in a semis, that's when their game goes up. It's one thing to play them on the main tour, which they've played on 4 occasions. But here, at a major, in a finals, going for 23, you're going to get to feel the full force of Novak Djokovic.
Greg Rosetsky and Annabelle Croft here with us on 5 Live and BBC Sounds and the BBC World Service as a big serve goes down from Ruud and he gets himself another point. The Ashes starts on Friday. Commentary of the opening Ashes test on Friday morning from 10 o'clock in the morning. Coverage on Test Match Special on BBC Sounds and 5 Sports Extra. And we got build-up all week long. The ultimate preview show is on Tuesday evening from 7. As a big return goes down the middle and Ruud gets himself to game point. And maybe he could just weather this storm. And he gets the game on the board and has narrowed the gap to at least 3-1.
Well, that ought to settle him down just a little bit, but I think it's going to take a monumental effort to get back to that stage psychologically where he's got Novak sort of doubting himself. And, that moment has come and gone a long time ago. And, that's going to be very difficult to wrestle back that control unless he can get Novak caught off guard where his focus and concentration just drops just a little bit. The scoreline going his way at the moment. As you've just pointed out, he does need to keep on focusing and keeping going with what he's doing.
And could even Novak Djokovic tighten a little bit if he's edging towards the finish line of a 23rd Grand Slam singles title to finally get ahead of Nadal? Who knows? Backhand is chipped cross-court and out by Ruud.
Here's the other thing with Ruud right now. He's not getting the penetration on that second serve return. He's not getting the depth. He's not being able to push Novak Djokovic back. And with Novak, when he's on top of the baseline, allowing to transfer his weight into the court with his forehand and his shots, he's just so deadly.
That's the ball bouncing of Novak Djokovic as he serves down the centre an ace, and it's just pin perfect, perfection.
Well, I was noticing how far out in front that ball toss was. It was a long way out in front, but he just nailed it, got the timing to perfection.
Well, what I noticed when you're serving well is, he's pushed it in front, but he drives up and goes forward into the court and takes an extra step. Right now, he is feeling it.
7-6, 3-1, and 30 love Djokovic. He's suddenly making this match like a run-of-the-mill early round match on the tour. And he doesn't lose many of those. He doesn't lose many of anything. Serves down the centre onto the backhand, which is lifted down the centre by Ruud, who's way behind the baseline, still heaving ground strokes, and at least he's got 1 point against the Djokovic serve as Djokovic nets the forehand. I mean, I suppose there is a level that Djokovic has reached that maybe isn't sustainable, and Ruud might be able to take some advantage.
He might be able to, if he just throws in a couple of unforced errors and the odd double fault or whatever, you can imagine there would be a case where he could suddenly just create some tension back into the match. But definitely it's tailed right off, hasn't he, from the height of that first set where the crowd were engaged. It was electricity. It's gone a little bit flatter since then.
He looks rather winded, does Ruud at the moment. In his 3rd Grand Slam singles final, he reached the French Open final and the US Open final last year. Djokovic just waiting for the wind to die down. 15 years since his first Grand Slam title in 2008 at the Australian Open. Serves down the centre onto the forehand. Now hits the forehand off the back foot. Ruud trying to get back to 30 all in this game. Huge forehand winner though by Djokovic, and Ruud's just not even running to some of it.
It's weird, isn't it? It's almost like he's being frozen. And he's thrown in some of the tactics that he had in the first set, but it's just not working. Those loopy balls, Greg, into the forehand side, and Djokovic just thumping it.
Well, the difference is Djokovic on those loopy balls now is being able to get up to them at the right height, really follow through, and because he's relaxed, there's penetration and pace coming there, which wasn't happening in the opening set, and that's why Ruud looks like he's so flat-footed.
Yeah,
there's a sort of liquid whiplash to the way that Djokovic is hitting the ball now. All of his limbs feel like they've just unclenched, and he's released, to use the words that he used when he beat Karen Khachanov, and he was a set down and he was tight as a drum. And of course he double faults now that I've just said that.
Well, it is a little bit blustery out there right now, and you see Novak taking a little bit more time. When it's that windy sometimes, it's really difficult to control your serve and your service toss, and this is where Novak is really trying to be a discipline. So Depends when you hit those double faults. It's not so bad when you're 40 love or 40-15 up. It's not so costly.
40-30. Djokovic. First set on a tie-break. Second set 3-1. He serves down the centre. It's got back by Ruud, but long. And Djokovic's voice is the one you hear celebrating. And he's going to take a seat with a 4-1 lead in the second set. And I think above all else, Annabelle, I mean, there's so many superlatives you could use about Novak Djokovic, but the sheer longevity of him, 36 years of age, and to my eye, he doesn't look like he's lost anything.
No, quite the opposite. I almost think he looks really fresh. I think you're absolutely spot on. I mean, certain times in Federer's career, when he was getting up into the sort of a mid to late 30s, we started to say, didn't we, that he was just losing half an inch, you know, of speed to get to balls, maybe a little touch late on a few things, but you can't really say that about Djokovic. He's so fluid as a mover and so bendy, you know, to be able to change direction, the agility, you know, just balance that he plays. And as you said, it's like fluidity in motion, what we're witnessing right now. It wasn't that in the first set because of the nerves, but, you know, I think he's got a number of years left in him, actually. I do.
Wow.
Yeah, at least a couple of really good ones, I think.
Well, the other thing is, you look at Novak, he's one of the most flexible tennis players we've ever seen. He's the best mover. Before him, it was Roger Federer, who was considered the best mover on a tennis court. And you look at the injuries, the only real injury he's had is that elbow problem. And when you don't have surgeries and you're as disciplined and professional as Novak, there's no reason. For me, the part that's amazing is the mentality with that consistency, to have that hunger, to be willing to do the difficult things, because the training part isn't that hard. It's the recovery part that takes hours upon hours to get yourself ready, which I find is the most mentally draining part. They're sitting with the physio, sitting with the massage therapist, going into the cryo chambers,
Exactly right.
making sure the diet's right, all those little minuscule things.
Yeah, that's what he's been prepared to put himself through, and you're spot on, Greg. I mean, he talked about that after he won Australia, and he said, it's pretty boring, the amount of hours that I've spent in oxygen chambers or with the physios, as you've just listed there. But that is what he's prepared to do to be the very, very best.
Yeah, because he wants to end his career with all the records, and he's been quite open about that, really. I mean, he's been pursuing Federer and Nadal and having to put up with the fact that as Ruud catches the loose ball on his racket strings and gets a bit of a round of applause. I mean, he's had to put up with quite a lot, really, Djokovic, in terms of crowds supporting the other guy and him sort of saying, well, that's okay, I'll just win anyway. And he's able to stomach quite a lot of that. And now he's kind of got his chance to shine in their absence. And if he wins today, he'll have more Grand Slam singles titles than either of them. He'll have the same number as Serena Williams, 23, would be one behind Margaret Court, the all-time most ever. And a backhand goes down the centre by Ruud, and that's long. 15-all.
Well, let's not forget that other woman by the name of Steffi Graf, who has 23 as well. I think there's sometimes 22. I always thought it was 23 for some reason. But also, it's Margaret Court with 24, and I think Novak wants to get to 25, I believe. So there's a long way to go. So thank you for correcting me on that one.
I don't think he wants to stop there either, in all honesty. I actually think he has his sights set, even now, on this year's calendar Grand Slam of winning all four this year. Backhand chip cross court by Ruud. In comes Djokovic with the backhand on the line. Passing shot is nicely guided down the line by Ruud.
Yeah, I think Ruud's tried to introduce more slice backhands in this second set, and just trying to throw Djokovic off guard with it and try and, you know, unsettle the rhythm from the back of the court. But it's, well, even though he came up with that point, I don't think that Djokovic is put off from it. He's really bending the knees beautifully. He's dropping the racket head. He looks very smooth on the lower ball. I think we have to say that Ruud has tried pretty much everything in this match, hasn't he? He's tried the loopier balls, the low slices, tried everything.
He serves out wide, does Ruud. Backhand just snaps long from Djokovic. So Ruud just starting to take care of his serve again, which is about all he can do just at the moment with Djokovic playing at this level. He's 4-1 down, is the Norwegian, 24 years of age, and a set down. But he's just plugging away. This to get a second game on the board in this set. Serves out wide. Goodness me, what a return from Djokovic. Then a backhand chip cross court. Even the slice backhands are not floating anymore. They're just knifing through the surface. Forehand cross court winner. He's trying to hit everything so hard. That one's gone out into the tram lines, but he looks like he believes he can hit a winner at any time.
He does. And the other thing as well is the rallies aren't so physical anymore. And Casper Ruud wanted to make this match physical as it was in the first set. And in this second set, it's only been 28 minutes, which for the most normal sets is pretty long. But on clay, that isn't. And what I like about Novak is the intensity he's keeping. Even though he's complaining to his team there, he's just keeping it together and being bold and brave. Look at Goran. In our pictures, we can see him trying to talk to him what he wants him to do tactically.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, they have a running battle for most of their matches, don't they? It must be exhausting trying to play Casper Ruud as well as Goran Ivanisevic in the box as well.
I asked Goran, what does he say to you? And he goes, you don't want to know.
Yeah.
There's her forehand down the line from Novak Djokovic, who's a set and 4-2 ahead and now 15 love ahead on his serve as he skips into a forehand like a teenager. I mean, he's so light on his feet.
Yeah, he really is. He's a very light physique, isn't he? Very fine-tuned athlete, but there's not much of him. But what a stunning forehand that was. I mean, that's unrecognisable from the forehands we saw in the opening set. And the way that he just kind of drops that racket head, accelerates up the back of the ball. And he's just looking up several times, trying to work out where he's going to place his ball toss here, because it seems that every time he's down that end, the sun comes out, David.
Yes, it can dazzle you, can't it? You could lose the ball in the sun if it's going up in that direction. 7-6, 4-2, Djokovic, 15 love. Second set of this French Open final. He's won this title twice before, the first time in 2016. He beat Andy Murray in the final there to hold all 4 Grand Slams at the same time then. Here's a chance for the pass for Djokovic, volleyed by Ruud. He's underneath the lob, he smashes. Djokovic will reach that too. Another forehand volleyed by Ruud. Good, strong, firm volley.
Yeah, didn't quite get the lob high enough there, Djokovic. He had an opportunity in that last point. He rifled a backhand quite low and flat, but then when he had the opportunity for the lob, too much sort of spin on it, not enough height.
Well, I also think, he had the up-the-line passing shot in retrospect right there wide open as well. Sometimes he gets a little cute with that lob. You want to be ruthless right now. You want to really stamp your authority. Don't give Ruud any hope out there.
Yeah, I agree. And this is such an important game, isn't it? To keep his pressure on, keep the foot on the accelerator.
Forehand down the centre. Ruud's starting to strike the ball a little better now himself. I think maybe he's just recovered from a little bit of the shock. He's starting to put a bit of pressure on of his own here. Big forehand on the line. He's coming in. Ruud, backhand volley into the corner. Djokovic lifts a lob. Ruud's underneath it. Smashes it straight back at Djokovic. And Djokovic nets. And Ruud is having a little bit of a fight back here.
Yeah, bit of a resurgence, and that's a much better point from Ruud.
It is, and also the willingness to come forward, because from the back of the court, nothing is happening. So he knows, I've got to get more aggressive. I've got to take any short ball and really come forward. And 2 excellent volleys and good overheads to get to 15-30. This is a real little opportunity here. He has to take advantage.
Yeah, the fist pump is back for Casper Ruud, and a door opening here to maybe get one of the break, or the break of serve back again. Standing quite far back for this return of serve.
Can he make Djokovic feel the nerves again? Because for the last... Okay, yeah. The last half an hour, Djokovic has looked like he hasn't got a care in the world. Whereas in the first set, he was a bundle of nerves.
Even the crowd can sense it. The whole energy of the crowd has shifted.
Here's Ruud with a chance to set up break-back point. He has a forehand to hit, which he goes cross-court with. Cross-court Djokovic. Forehand down the line is Ruud's. Now he's got a two-handed backhand, which he lifts back edge of the line. Then a backhand cross-court. That one's long.
Oh, he got away with that, Djokovic. He did well to control that ball off the line, because it's never easy if it hits the line. It sort of does a little of a jerk sideways, and he still managed to get that ball back into play.
Yeah, it was excellent defense there from Novak to manage it, but for Casper Ruud, that's a routine backhand at 15-30. You can't make an unforced error like that. And that's a shot we've been looking at all match, whether that was going to hold up, and there it did not.
Interesting to see Djokovic so many times lately going thundering, fast and furious into the forehand side cross-court, just to try and take away his strength of the forehand from the other side of the court, which he loves a lot more. Yeah.
Damien Demassoir is admonishing people behind him that are making too much noise. chair umpire. Set and 4-2 for Djokovic in the men's singles final at Roland Garros. This is 30-all. Backhand on the centre. Ruud sits up for Djokovic to attack. Now he goes down the line. Ruud's there. Slices his backhand but halfway up the net, and that's a poor one. And he hits his left hand with the frame of his racket in frustration. 40-30 Djokovic.
I think he was expecting that thundering forehand cross-court again. And Djokovic this time went the other way into the backhand and caught him a little bit late.
I'm just loving looking at Goran Ivanisevic and Novak Djokovic's conversations there. It's like, okay, come on, do this. Make sure you do that play. Find this variety. I just wish we could get some microphones with the coaches during the match.
It is amusing. He always has sort of a pained expression on his face, doesn't he, Goran Ivanisevic?
Well, we need to have translators as well for the language that they speak as well.
You also need a bleep button. Here's a backhand down the centre by Ruud, back edge of the line. Now he's attacking me on a forehand. Djokovic lifts a lob. It's going to bounce in front of Ruud on his baseline. Ruud attacks with the overhead, but he smashed it into the middle of the net. And he's had a couple of chances, in all honesty, in that game, has Ruud, and he hasn't taken them. Part of that because Djokovic has just put him under enormous pressure in difficult parts of the court. Set and 5-2 Djokovic. He's very nearly 2 sets to love ahead.
Well, that was getting a little edgy, that game, wasn't it? And he came through it with flying colours, and he was up against it. I think you picked it, David, and said that Ruud was starting to look a bit smoother, a bit more engaged in the battle. It looked like the spring was back in his step, but Novak Djokovic, wonderful last point there as well, with that huge lob to defend, get it back deep into the corner, and Ruud not able to do anything with the smash.
Sometimes when I watch Novak Djokovic, I actually don't watch the way he hits a tennis ball. I just look at his footwork.
Yeah.
And you can see in the second set, his footwork has been immaculate. You know, being able to get that extra ball defensively to hit the perfect lob or to get onto the front foot. He is just flowing. And when you're flowing with your footwork, what happens? You've got many more options. Yes. And right now, the world #1 to be, if he wins this match, looks like he is flying.
Yeah, I agree with you. And Djokovic still having a word with Damien Dumassois with the ice towel that you remember was spraying ice cubes everywhere early on in this match. It looks a little bit more contained right now. I think he looks a lot cooler as well.
It's a lot easier when Novak's winning his matches sometimes, because he can be a little bit fiery and feisty, as all players can be. And even Casper was a little bit so in the opening set, questioning the time Novak was taking.
Now Damien Dumassois is admonishing Djokovic for leaving his bottles on the floor. Gets him to put them away.
Really? I thought you were allowed to leave them on the floor.
Well, he's been told to tidy up, like a schoolboy who's not done the right things at home. And it does make you think, well, hold on, doesn't Rafael Nadal put 3 of them in front of his chair and make sure they're faced an exact position?
Bizarre, I've never heard an umpire doing that.
Maybe it had the logos that weren't of the sponsorship company of the tournament. That could be the reason why.
Yeah, good point.
Set and 5-2. Here's a forehand return down the line from Djokovic, trying to win this game and go 2 sets to love ahead, but that's a decent passing shot down the line from Ruud, who keeps plugging away.
Well, despite not winning that point, Djokovic, there was still a sense of purpose and urgency about the way he was coming forward, like really striking that ball with authority on the front foot, looking to make things happen. He wants to get the break here and then serve first in the 3rd set.
Serve down the centre, he's crashed back at Ruud. He barely had chance to move before the ball was back on him after the serve because of Djokovic's returning prowess, and Djokovic will go from the orange clay courts under his feet to his preferred grass under his feet in a few weeks' time when Wimbledon gets underway, across the BBC on 5 Live and BBC TV and World Service. And online, of course. I mean, Djokovic has won this title twice before. He's aiming to have won all 4 Grand Slam titles 3 times minimum each. As Ruud comes in and swats a forehand cross-court, but he's missed the sideline.
Well, Djokovic having to defend himself like a shield with his racket there from that serve at the body. He did very well to even get that ball back into play. I mean, Ruud had the choice of what he wanted to do with that next shot. Should have been a winner, and I think he got a bit distracted. Unforced error in trouble this game.
Djokovic trying to become the oldest man ever to win this tournament. If he does so, he'll be just 18 days the senior of what Rafael Nadal was a year ago, when Nadal also beat Casper Ruud. 2-5. Ruud on serve at 15:30. Pressure for him to deal with again, and another perfect return from Djokovic right onto the baseline, cramping Ruud up. Ruud hit a good serve.
I mean, the problem when you're playing Novak, the greatest returner of all time, if you don't hit it right in the perfect spot and he gets a racket on it, there's not much you can do with that sort of return. And the sound that's coming out of Djokovic's racket, it's just a different sound than the opening set. It's so clean and crisp.
This for 2 sets to love for Djokovic. He tries to go for the absolute casino forehand down the line, but he just goes long.
I like that description, David. That's quite funny.
He wants to have this Court Philippe Chatrier crowd gasping. He wants Kylian Mbappe and Tom Brady, who are in attendance, to be open-mouthed at his brilliance. He has set point, does Djokovic. Forehand down the centre. What a forehand cross-court though by Casper Ruud, as if to say, I am not going away without a fight.
That's one of the best forehands he's hit, isn't it? And an unusual one as well, because it didn't have depth on it, but he really struck it so early, came right round the outside of it and created the most extraordinary angle. I mean, there was no chance Djokovic could have ever got to that.
No, not a chance. But if that's what you got to come up with to win points, it's going to be a long afternoon.
Yeah.
Greg Rosetsky and Annabelle Croft here with us on BBC 5 Live and BBC World Service. Here's a lob from Djokovic. Underneath it is Ruud to smash it away, and he's seen off 2 set points, and it's deuce. And it's advantage to him, rather.
Now Djokovic would love to have an overhead like that, because Ruud is a lot smoother, more confident, really hit with authority.
Yeah, it is, but it was costly in that early set when the breakback happened with those 1 miss. So he has missed a few today as well.
This to at least make Djokovic serve for the set for Ruud. First serve long from Ruud. He winds up into a second. It's a vicious second serve, but it still comes back at him. And then down the line goes Djokovic with a backhand, and he sighs because he didn't quite make it. He thinks he can make everything right now, but he still will have a chance now to serve for this second set. 5-3.
Perhaps he'll be a little bit disappointed with not getting the break there, because maybe he just went for too much on that forehand at 15:40. As you said, the casino forehand, he missed it by quite a distance, but I think he'd like to have a couple of those points back.
Yeah, he would do. And, you know, these opening few points here when you're serving for at 5-3 become very important. And you know, he'd like the first serve to get a few cheap points here, but Ruud must be thinking to himself, okay, got one more shot at it. Why not?
Yeah, he might throw everything in the kitchen sink at this next game, and Djokovic might just start to get a little bit nervous again.
Serve is long. And let's not forget yesterday, Iga Swiatek, the world #1, led 6-2, 3-love against Karolina Muchova and ended up losing that second set 7-5. She was breaks of serve down as well in the third set before coming through. Here's Ruud going after the big forehand. He's put it onto the baseline. He's really throwing everything he's got, is Ruud now. Forehand cross court that Djokovic responds down the line with. Then a backhand chip cross court by Ruud. Backhand cross court by Djokovic. First point of this 9th game in the second set. Backhand cross court by Ruud is long. And the backhand is starting to let him down now.
It is. It's falling apart in this second set. In the opening set, it was very good until push came to shove under the pressure in that tiebreaker. But Djokovic really breaking down the Norwegian's backhand. If that shot doesn't solidify anymore, this could be one-way traffic.
I think Ruud knows he needs to do more than just get it back in the court, but therefore he's having to go for more than he normally would. Djokovic just edging towards a 2-set lead. He serves onto the backhand side, winds up into a forehand, and he has hit the line, has he? Yes!
That was close, wasn't it? I thought it was out, but no call, no complaint from Casper Ruud either. So living dangerously, but just nailing it.
Yeah, he just wants to save the line judges and lines cleaners a little bit of time by wiping and cleaning those lines. That's what they're there for, to be hit, as Agassi used to say.
Astonishing angle that he came up with there, Djokovic, and he hit the ball so hard, and he still found the line. 7-6, 5-3 Djokovic, 30 love in the men's singles final at the French Open. Serve down the centre from Djokovic, then he backs it up with a backhand on the line. Forehand whip down the centre by Ruud from Norway in his third Grand Slam singles final. He hasn't won one yet. Chips his backhand into the bottom of the net. And he's running out of answers at the moment, is Casper Ruud. He's appealing to his support team now for some help, some guidance, some respite from the pummeling he's taking at the hands of Novak Djokovic. But the problem is, as we hear Casper Ruud's voice, he's a very, very good player, but he's up against one of the greatest of all time. Arguably in men's tennis, the greatest. Today would put him ahead of them all. A backhand down onto the backhand side of Djokovic. It goes down the line, and he just guides it down the line as if this sport is the easiest thing in the world. And Novak Djokovic leads 2-0 in the men's singles final at the French Open and needs one more set to go ahead of Nadal and Federer for the first time in his life.
Yeah, that was almost perfection, that set, and complete contrast to what we witnessed in the first set. It just took him 43 minutes, almost half the amount of time it took for the first set, and everything just flowing. Beautiful ground strokes, total command of it, and is in pole position. I said he had one finger on the trophy after the first set. I reckon he's got about, what, 8 or 9 fingers now?
I think he's got 2 hands on it right now. I think Casper's going to need a miracle, to be honest with you, because he's relaxed, he's flowing, and that opening set was humongous.
Yeah, that was the moment, really, Aaron, that turned this match in Novak Djokovic's favour, and now he just looks imperious. 2-0.
Industrious, machine-like from the Super Serb Novak Djokovic, who takes the second set at Roland Garros. We'll be back to court Philippe Chatrier in a moment, but at 4:25 here on 5 Live, it's time for the news with Matthew Bone.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Thanks, Aaron. The former First Minister of Scotland's Nicola Sturgeon has been arrested. She's being questioned by detectives investigating the funding and finances of the SNP. The former leader is the third party member to be questioned by the police. The BBC's Scotland's correspondent Lorna Gordon explains what happens next.
As a spokesperson for Ms Sturgeon said, she, by arrangement with Police Scotland, attended an interview where she was arrested and questioned in relation to Operation Branchform. Now, the way procedures work here in Scotland is, as I understand it, that they have 12 hours from the time somebody is arrested before they either have to be charged with a crime or released while inquiries continue.
The Energy Secretary Grant Shapps has said the country wants a calmer period following the political turbulence of Boris Johnson's premiership. Mr Johnson stood down as an MP on Friday over an investigation into lockdown gatherings. Police have arrested 8 teenagers on suspicion of murder after the fatal stabbing of a 16-year-old boy in Bath. Emergency services were called to an address after 11 o'clock last night. Rescue teams are searching for 3 British tourists reported missing after the boat they were on caught fire in the Red Sea off Egypt. 26 people have been rescued. Ukraine has claimed its forces have retaken a village in the country's south, the first reported gain of its counteroffensive. Ukraine's army is trying to break through Russian defences in the country's south and east, with fighting reported on at least 4 fronts. And forecasters say almost a month's rain could fall over parts of the UK in the next 12 hours. The Met Office has issued a new alert for thunderstorms and rain today and tomorrow. Temperatures have already reached 30 Celsius in West Suffolk, but could eventually peak at 32 Celsius, which would be hotter than Monaco.
5 tests not enough? Enjoy even more of the Ashes with BBC Sounds.
There's something special about the Ashes. Yeah, that's where it all started.
The TMS podcast brings you the best cricket insight and analysis from every day's play.
It's just good, honest cricket shots. They're just playing with a different tempo.
And Greg James presents Sport's Strangest Crimes, the man who bought cricket.
Alan Stanford arrived for his arraignment in federal court wearing handcuffs.
Take the Ashes with you this summer.
On Radio 5 Sports Extra
and BBC Sounds. 5 Live Sport
with Aaron Paul.
Yeah, welcome back to 5 Live Sport this Sunday afternoon. We are at the men's final at the French Open. Novak Djokovic 2 sets up. And very quickly, in the world of sport, Australia have won the World Test Championship final after beating India by 209 runs at the Oval. The Southern Vipers have won the Charlotte Edwards Cup after a 7-wicket victory against the Blaze. Meanwhile, the Vipers bowler Anya Shrubsole has announced she'll retire from professional cricket after the 100 later this year. In Rugby Super League, it's currently Wakefield Trinity 14 leads Rhinos 14. In Rugby Union, Exeter Chiefs leads Saracens 17-14 in the semi-final of the Women's Premier 15s playoffs. Just under 20 minutes to play. They're over on Radio 5 Sports Extra right now. You can hear commentary in the Men's County Championship. It's day 1 of Nottinghamshire against Warwickshire. And right on time, because I believe that Novak Djokovic and Casper Ruud are heading back onto court. It's time to go back to Roland Garros for the 3rd set in the company of tennis correspondent Russell Fuller.
Thank you, Aaron. The players are ready for the start of the 3rd set. Casper Ruud has only once before in his career come back from 2 sets to love down to win a match. It would be some achievement if he did it here against Novak Djokovic in the French Open final. 7-6, 6-3. Djokovic has taken the first couple of sets. And as Ruud is about to serve, he is disturbed by somebody walking along one of the gangways to take their seat for the 3rd set of a potential 5 in this men's singles final. But Ruud is going to need to find some enormous mental strength from somewhere if he's to turn this match around. He's won the first point on serve here. Decent serve, and Djokovic not able to make the forehand service return. Greg Rosetsky and Annabelle Croft are with me. That first set lasted 81 minutes. And then the second, as we suspected it might, swung more decisively Djokovic's way in the early stages as he won it by 6-3. Slice backhand from Ruud is wide.
I just don't feel he's hitting his slice backhand the way he was in the opening set. He just looks a little less sure of it. And the angle of the racket, sometimes he's a little bit late on it, sometimes it's not quite right.
Well, I think it's also the pace of Novak, because all of a sudden in the last set and early on in this 3rd set, it's just not buying Casper any time.
Forehand from Ruud. He's caught Djokovic a little short there, but Djokovic has got a forehand on the ball, and now he's hitting a backhand Djokovic. The angle cross-court volley from Ruud. He's passed by Djokovic. Cross-court with the backhand, and Djokovic is in complete control of his powers right now.
He's just doing whatever he wants out there. He just feels like he's got the ball on a string right now. It doesn't matter what Casper is doing, even if he's pushing him all around. He's moving from defense to offense so easily, Novak. It's a delight to watch. You hear the crowd getting behind their man, Novak Djokovic. They all want to see history here.
History incoming fast, perhaps, because it's 15-30 on the Ruud serve, but that will slow the course of history a fraction. An ace from Ruud for 30-all.
Yeah, it's a pretty special moment to be witnessing what could potentially be one of the biggest moments in tennis, not too far away. I mean, he's homing in, isn't he?
Novak Djokovic looks a man who knows he's destined to win this title. His self-belief so high. Just long there, Djokovic with the return. The call was late. Here comes umpire Dumoussois to check, and he agrees with the call from the line judge. Just raises his hand to the sky and trots back and climbs the 4 or 5 stairs to his umpire's chair.
Yeah, he was quick out of the chair, wasn't he? He sort of sprinted down there to the baseline. That was impressive.
Don't want to pull a muscle, though, sitting in that chair all those hours.
Yeah.
Moving almost as well as Greg did on Dancing on Ice all those years ago, as Djokovic hits a forehand into the net. And Ruud holds to 30.
I was much younger back then than Dumoussois is now, though. But this is a perfect start for Casper Ruud. He had to make sure he got into a little bit of a lead here in the 3rd set. He's got to do step by step, point by point, the old cliches, because it's a long way back against Novak Djokovic, but finally back in the lead. It's been a while since that's happened.
Yep, you've got to start somewhere, and Ruud has held serve well there at the start of this 3rd set. Novak Djokovic's parents, Diana and Srdjan, are in the box watching. Srdjan, you may remember, missed the Australian Open final and the 2nd week of that first Grand Slam of the year, having been pictured posing for a photograph with some pro-Russian and pro-Vladimir Putin supporters. Djokovic, as in Novak, said that his dad had absolutely no idea what flag they were brandishing.
Yes. Yeah, that could have really disrupted him that year, couldn't it? In the Australian. It's a bit unfortunate.
Love one. Djokovic with his first service game of the third set. Squash shot forehand bounces 2 or 3 times from the racket of Casper Ruud. Dribbles towards the net.
What's so impressive from Novak there is how far he's into the baseline, taking that ball on the rise, on a clay court. Not the easiest things to do. He's just striking and seeing the ball so early now.
There's been some politics from Novak in this Grand Slam. He scribbled, "Kosovo is the heart of Serbia, stop the violence" on the camera lens after a victory in the first week. He's inside the baseline to hit a forehand. And there's a lovely little volley cross-court by Djokovic, who is just taking everything that Casper Ruud throws at him in his stride.
Oh, it was so casual, wasn't it, the way he dealt with that very difficult volley. I mean, that was struck with a lot of venom right at the feet of Novak Djokovic, and he just stuck a racket out and just managed to open the face up, played it beautifully into the open space.
30-love Djokovic. What can Ruud do to try and change the narrative of this match? Backhand reply from Ruud. Djokovic cross-court with the backhand, very close to the sideline. Forehand Djokovic, Ruud with the backhand into the net.
Interesting there, Ruud took a return to serve position a little earlier, trying to take the ball earlier, but that's not his natural game. He's not going to beat Novak in that sort of style, taking the ball on a little bit earlier, because there's nobody better in the business than Novak, and it doesn't buy him any more time on his ground stroke, so I don't really like this play from him.
40-love on the Djokovic serve. Second serve for Djokovic. 3 game points to level this third set at 1 game all. And that is batted back with the ball heading towards his head by Ruud, unconvincingly, over the baseline. And Djokovic holds to love. And this feels like a coronation is not too far away. And this is in danger, although Ruud is still at 1 game all in the third set, of this turning into a procession. I feel like we're heading through the streets of London in a gilded carriage on the way to Westminster Abbey right now.
Well, he still needs to get a break for the procession to start, but it does feel like all the momentum is with Novak.
1 game all in the third set. They've been playing for 2 hours and 25 minutes. The sun is out again in Paris. Forehand from Djokovic. Backhand Ruud hit cross-court. Djokovic with the backhand cross-court. Ruud down the line to the forehand of Djokovic. Ruud's forehand cross-court. Djokovic with the forehand down the line. Slice backhand from Ruud. Djokovic with the drop shot. Ruud down the line with the backhand. Djokovic with the passing attempt. But what a fantastic volley by Casper Ruud.
Oh, that was absolutely beautiful. Just stuck a racket out, but stabbed at it, kept the racket face open and just played it to perfection back down into Novak's forehand corner. I think that even took Novak by surprise. I think he thought he'd won the point.
Well, I think he was a little bit fortunate on that one because he caught it behind him but managed to muscle it up the line. He's going to be pleased with that volley because that wasn't an easy shot to execute.
15-love Ruud. Serve to the backhand of Djokovic, serving and volleying, and there's another very nice volley, 2 in a row from Casper Ruud, who is pretty comfortable at the net.
Yes, we underestimate his volleying skills, actually, because he's technically very, very sound, and even though he can play the drive volley, he does often go to the traditional volley, where he sort of opens the racket face, lays the wrist back, and then punches it into the court. But, yeah, they're pretty effective.
30-love. Couple of pigeons fly over this Philippe Chatrier court, admiring no doubt that deep return by Novak Djokovic. The lob from Casper Ruud, the smash from Djokovic.
You know, Novak's feeling it when he's starting to hit overheads like that, because
best smash of the match?
Definitely, yes. No question about it from Novak's point of view. It's amazing with a little bit of tension when it goes out of the body, what can happen and what you can do.
Yeah, it was much smoother, wasn't it? And hit with a bit more authority, snapped that wrist over the top and put that one away.
30-15 Ruud. Backhand return Djokovic. fantastic one, but Ruud, who I think for a moment there thought he managed to work that forehand back in play, has gone just long here, and he's under pressure on serve once more at 30-all.
Suddenly we've got the drums back again. Maybe they sense something's about to happen.
Ruud at 30-all, misses the first serve. He will remain as the world number 4 on Monday, even if he wins this match. He's managed to defend the points he earned for reaching the final 12 months ago, which is no mean achievement. But if it does end in a third Grand Slam final defeat, that may not be much consolation. Backhand cross-court from Djokovic. Ruud hits the backhand. Djokovic with a forehand. It's a winner. And this is just glorious and devastating from Djokovic now.
I also think the conditions have changed quite dramatically since the start of the match, when we had the roof, well, it wasn't closed for the very beginning of the match, but they did close it just ahead of the match, didn't they? It was very gloomy, dark, overhead clouds. And now, you know, with the court swept after that second set, the clouds have lifted a little bit, it's lighter, it just feels like faster conditions.
And it's break point for Djokovic. Backhand cross-court, Ruud's backhand. Djokovic backhand into the net.
Oh, he didn't like that one. You could hear him saying no when he hit that, holding his head in his hands. That was such an opportunity, wasn't it?
It was, and you know, you'd expect Novak to make his favorite backhand up the line on that one. A bit of a reprieve there for Casper.
Juice. Ruud breathes again. Misses the first serve. Wipes the sweat from the lower half of his forehead. The bandana is doing a good job at soaking up the sweat higher on his head. Orange and blue he's wearing. He's serving from the far end. It's Juice. It's a backhand from Djokovic. Backhand Ruud cross-court. Djokovic's backhand cross-court. Ruud down the line with a backhand. And Djokovic into the net.
Oh, Djokovic looking a bit forlorn after those couple of points. He's flailing his arms around and just not happy with the way he moved towards that forehand out wide. I think he thought he got a bit of a bad bounce as well. He's feeling like this is a missed opportunity.
It may prove to be so in a moment, because this is advantage Ruud. He misses his first serve down the middle. Monday Night Club tomorrow with Mark Chapman, Shea Given, Chris Sutton and Rory Smith. We'll have lots of great debate about Manchester City's Champions League final win. That's 7 o'clock on 5 Live at BBC Sounds. Backhand into the net from Djokovic, and Ruud holds. And he leads by 2-1. He saved a break point there.
He's definitely doing a few different things, isn't he? He's trying to find different ways to get back involved in this match. As I said before, we've got a lot more slice backhands. Definitely been coming forward more, hitting the ball pretty cleanly, and he's hit some stunning volleys.
Well, he has, and also, you know, with Novak missing that break point, getting a little bit frustrated on himself, hitting his legs, Casper's thinking, all right, maybe the momentum is starting to shift right here, because Novak knew how important it was. Had he got that break up 2-1, he just felt, okay, this match is basically over. But still, Casper is still holding strong here early on in his third set, so still a lot to play for. I'd like to see him take a little bit more risk on the Djokovic serve, standing further back like he was in the opening set, but going with more depth and more height and more acceleration, especially on that forehand side, because if you can get that depth on a clay court and have as much rotation as Casper has on the ball, sometimes you can get a few funky bounces, and that doesn't allow Novak to step in. If it's short or if it's a little flatter, Novak can just easily deflect it and start flowing the way he has been for about a set and a bit.
Yeah, I guess if we think back to the opening set where he was so devastating in how he was playing Novak tactically, mixing in some of those loopier shots, but also the forehand was breathtaking, wasn't it? And it feels like we haven't really witnessed him bossing and bullying too many points with that forehand the way he was at the start.
The other thing is the sound that comes off the racket when Casper's striking it immensely hard. Just a different sound. We haven't heard that pop. The pop's been coming out of Djokovic's racket, as we see Mike Tyson sitting there in the crowd watching the tennis as well, because I know his daughter enjoys playing tennis and he's become a fan.
He's been here for final weekends, and he's now watching Djokovic serve 1-2 down and miss his first serve, but he's won the first 2 sets here on 5 Live, the World Service and BBC Sounds, 7-6, after 81 minutes, and then by 6 games to 3. And it means that they've been on court for a total of 2.5 hours. Forehand return from Ruud, forehand Djokovic. Ruud with the backhand, pushed down the line onto the forehand of Djokovic. Backhand cross-court Djokovic, crunch cross-court. He's inside the baseline now, Djokovic, and this is made to look so easy. He will be sweating profusely on this hot and humid day, but he really does look like he has complete control of the ball as he moves to 15 love.
Oh, just watching that forehand in full flight, the way he's just hit that. He kind of flails at the ball, and you know, there's no way it's coming back, and the arm looks like there's so much space between his body and where he hits and connects with the ball. Still trying to see where he should put this ball toss up, because honestly, I'm not joking, every single time he goes down that end, the sun comes out. It's like it's trying to make things as difficult as possible for him.
15 love, he serves down the middle. He's got a short return from Ruud, and he hammers the forehand away. Djokovic can move to 30 love.
You know, we talk about forehand winners. That's Djokovic's 19th forehand winner, while Ruud's only on 12 at the moment. Just shows you how devastating that shot has been the last set and a half for Novak. He's really upped it on that side. And the angles he's also being able to create from both his forehand and backhand have Casper Ruud just moving all over the court.
30 love, Djokovic misses his first serve. 5 games away from another title, which would be a third here at Roland Garros, and it would be a 23rd Grand Slam title in all. But Casper Ruud has not been broken in this third set yet, as Djokovic serves at 30 love. Forehand Djokovic, clubbed away again, and Ruud's just not getting a look in on this service game so far.
Yeah, he's just thumping these forehands now, and he's almost got both feet off the ground. And as Greg said, you can hear that heavy thud. I mean, it's hit with so much ferocity, weight of shot, and Casper Ruud not able to read which direction he's going on it.
Well, the problem is the return of serve just too short, and if Novak can step in, you're going to be second best.
40 love, Djokovic, down the middle he goes. The high forehand return by Ruud, backhand from Ruud. Djokovic's forehand, it's another winner, and this one is the best of the lot, because effortlessly, it seems, he's landed that within about 6 inches of the baseline.
Oh, just having a look at his wife up there in the box. She's looking extremely glamorous in this very beautiful fuchsia pink outfit and a beautiful hat. Very stylish, kind of Parisian look, actually. But she was just nodding very profusely about what a winner that was he just hit.
Well, it's very easy to nod your head when your husband's playing this well. She's sitting beside the American football legend Tom Brady, who's won more Super Bowls than any player in the history of the sport. So appreciating another legend of our sport.
2 games all. Here's Casper Ruud serving. Oh, and he left that return from Djokovic, which was, I think, just a little bit long, but it looked like it was going to hit that junction of sideline and baseline for a moment.
Yeah, it looked as if Novak was actually signalling to Casper there about was that in or out, and Casper went and showed him where the mark was, but it was almost like there was a bit of interaction between the two of them, even though they're so far apart down the other end.
15 love, Ruud, forehand return Djokovic, a very deep one again. Now Djokovic with a bit of momentum behind him has got a short forehand, and again he pummels it so powerfully, so accurately and so cleanly, and it's 15 all on the Ruud serve.
I mean, the depth is just spectacular from Novak. Not only the strike being so clean, but there's nothing you can do about that. It's undefendable. I mean, that serve is a solid serve, but he's making it look very average.
Yeah, I agree. It's just that return of serve has just gone to a completely different level.
2 games all, 15 all. Ruud serves down the middle. A high backhand return by Djokovic. Ruud in the middle of the court. Djokovic's backhand. Ruud's volley. Lob from Djokovic. Ruud with the smash. Djokovic with another lob. Ruud is winning this over the baseline. Playing with the crowd a little bit there. Turning his hand at stand-up comedy. (30-15). Down the tee, he goes with a very good first serve, and Djokovic is long with a forehand return.
Very clever from here, from Casper Ruud. 2 seconds served as first, 155 Ks, that's under 100 miles an hour. just so Novak can't get into that return. When he's gone with the big flat serve, he's been punished. A little tactical change there.
Looking after his serve well here, it would appear. Did save a break point in the last game, but these are 2 game points for 3-2. Forehand, it's a wild one, though, from Ruud.
But there you see the example, going with the flat one over 200 k's an hour, comes back to him just as fast as he served it. So, from Casper, why change a winning formula? If that little slow kick gets you a shorter ball, come on, be smart, continue with the play.
A shout of 4 right was required there from Casper Golfer. That's his Instagram account. Massive golf fan, as we heard at the start of 5 Live Sport today. Backhand down the line from Ruud, and a cross-court passing forehand winner from Novak Djokovic.
Seems to be so much damage being done by this forehand side of Novak. I mean, it's just gone to a completely different level. He's got so much more time on the ball. It's hit with so much more aggression, timing straight out of the centre of the racket. Looks about as good as he's hit it the entire championships.
He has. I mean, that's already 22 winners on his forehand side today.
It's deuce. Djokovic's backhand return. Ruud makes room for his forehand and makes no mistake as he hammers that down the line.
Pretty short, sharp points, these, aren't they? I think back to some of the exchanges which were physical, and we saw Novak doubled over at the end of some points in that first set. But this is fast, furious, up-tempo tennis.
Well, this suits Novak to a T, because the longer, more physical it is, the better it is for Casper. So Djokovic staying to the game plan.
You wonder how the third set of Alcaraz against Djokovic would have panned out if Alcaraz hadn't started cramping, because they surely couldn't have kept up the intensity and the physicality of those first 2 sets. And we've perhaps seen a little bit of that in the second and the third set here after the 81 minutes and all those physical rallies in the first set of the final. Ruud serves an ace. 3-2. Well played, Casper. He's fighting very, very hard to stay in this French Open final, trailing by 2 sets to love. This the final match of the European clay court season. There's always a clay court event to play somewhere, isn't there, Greg? You never used to look for them, but I see that on the Challenger Tour next week, you can be playing in all sorts of places. You can be playing in Maraska, Prostjov. You can be playing in Valencia, Bratislava, all on the clay, but it's all about the grass, isn't it, for us after today?
It is all about the grass, and obviously we're hoping that Andy Murray can win that grass court title, and then the ladies in Nottingham this week as well.
Rain still falling in Surbiton, with Murray set and 3-1 up against Yuri Rodionov in the final.
It is, and then we get ready for the tournaments in Queens, Eastbourne, Birmingham, leading up to the Wimbledon Championship. So it's an exciting time of year, and from a British perspective, this is where we usually hope for a lot of Brits to do well and get into the first or second week of Wimbledon.
That Surbiton final will continue on the BBC iPlayer and the BBC Sport website and app when the rain stops. Let's hope it does. Coverage from Nottingham from tomorrow, and lots of other good stories at events outside the UK. Nick Kyrgios is making his return. He's going to be playing his first event since the Tokyo tournament in October of last year. He's opted to play in Stuttgart this coming week. Milos Raonic, remember him? 2016 Wimbledon runner-up. He's not played for 2 years. He's making his return in Rosmalen in the Netherlands, where we also see, and this is my favourite matchup of the week, in that tournament in the Netherlands, Venus Williams playing her first match since the tournament in Auckland in January. 42 years of age, is playing 17-year-old Celine Neff of Switzerland. So around a quarter of a century age gap.
How wonderful, though. What an opportunity for the 17-year-old. I mean, to be able to play one of the great icons of the sport. And how amazing that she just loves still being out there, Venus Williams.
One's about to turn 18 and the other's about to turn 43 later this month. Extraordinary. Very little tennis under her belt. Will this be one last Wimbledon for Venus Williams? Or will she just keep playing, sparingly admittedly, because of injury problems? Djokovic was about to hit his second serve. Perhaps the wind disrupted the ball toss. He let it bounce. He's put his hand up to apologise to Ruud, and now sends the second serve to the forehand of the Norwegian. And we know he needs to go after it, but there's going after it. And there's that. That was absolutely wild by Ruud.
That wasn't going to hit the barn door, was it?
Well, you can hit it that hard, but make sure you have a little bit more spin on the ball next time, Casper, because that was wild. I agree with you, Annabelle, but sometimes you just got to take it on. Because right now he's not making a dent into the Djokovic service games, and that's the problem.
Yeah, that was a home run he just hit.
15-love Djokovic. Misses the first serve. Sun's disappeared again. Let's hope there's no prospect of rain as Djokovic serves a second serve ace down the tee. Love. 2-3 down in the third set.
It's kind of a hushed anticipation from this crowd right now, isn't there? There's a different atmosphere kind of coming across the match.
That's the sense we get, isn't it? That people now think that they are about to watch history, and they're expecting it to happen in this set. But Casper Ruud leads in this third set. We're still on serve with the Norwegian 3-2 up.
The problem for those Casper Ruud fans is he's got to get into the service game of Novak somehow, because of the tie-break record Novak has had during this tournament, how well he's played them.
Forehand return from Ruud cross-court. Djokovic with the forehand just over the baseline.
See, that's the return I'm looking for. You see, that's got pace, it's got spin, it's got depth. And that's what he did so well early on in that first set when he got up that early break against Djokovic. He's got to continue with that play, especially on the deuce side with that deep forehand cross-court return into Novak's forehand.
First point Djokovic has lost on serve in this third set. He still has 30-15. Clock ticking down to 3 seconds as Djokovic serves. 25 seconds allowed to serve between points. That's not caught cleanly by Ruud. And Djokovic, who looks in no danger at all on serve at the moment, leads this service game 40-15. Two-game points for Djokovic, who was very happy to admit he was not particularly sorry not to see Rafael Nadal's name in the draw this year, given the number of problems he's had against him at Roland Garros in the past. Forehand cross-court from Ruud. Djokovic down the line with great depth again with the forehand. Ruud just gets the ball back in play, and there with a lovely angle is the bounce smash from Djokovic. He certainly wasn't going to miss that one. And it's another very straightforward hold, and it's 3 games all third set.
Yeah, I keep wondering when we're going to experience some more nerves coming back into Novak Djokovic's body, but at the moment he looks very loose, he looks calm, he looks in control of emotions and everything, and just a matter of trying to get this break of serve. He's had some opportunities in this third set, hasn't quite got the job done yet, but I guess as the scoreline sort of closes in on Casper Ruud, he's going to start running out of time, isn't he?
Well, the other thing, there's no panic. I think the first set was key. 2 sets to love. He's never dropped a set against Casper Ruud in every match he's played, so he'll bide his time and take his opportunity when it arrives. Casper's got to do something special if he's going to turn this thing around.
3 games all. Ruud to the backhand of Djokovic. Backhand Ruud. Djokovic with the forehand. Ruud's backhand down the line. That's a winner. Both of them moving at half pace in that rally.
But that's the shot that he hits so well in that opening set, is that backhand up the line, Ruud. And it's the first one we've seen in a long while. Getting a cleanly struck backhand for a winner here at 15-love.
Ruud serves at 15-love.
Gosh, Novak's given it.
Umpire Damien Dumoussois overruling just as Djokovic put his hand up to signal that was good. And it's made worse for the line judge by the fact that it was one of the loudest shouts of the afternoon, thereby drawing even more attention to himself.
Yeah.
30-love Ruud. Forehand return Djokovic. Ruud cross-court with the forehand. Djokovic down the line with the forehand. Winner.
When he's playing like this, Novak, he makes tennis look so easy. Yeah, I just hit a cross-court deep and then hit a winner up the line. What's the big deal? It's quite an easy sport, this.
I know, he actually does make you want to pick the racket up and have a go, though, doesn't he?
Yeah, but when you pick up the racket, for some reason, it doesn't feel like Novak Djokovic.
It feels like a big club.
It isn't as easy as he makes it look at times.
Ruud at 30-15. Backhand cross-court return. Djokovic is wide. If he wins, Djokovic, he begins another stint as the world #1. He'll be starting his 388th week at the top, should he win this final against Ruud. And he's likely to be #1 for quite a few weeks for the rest of the year, you think, if he wins the title. Carlos Alcaraz may possibly be able to overtake him on the grass, although Novak Djokovic is a 7-time champion. And there's Djokovic hitting a forehand down the line. But when you think that Djokovic didn't play in North America in August and September of last year, so didn't pick up any points at the Masters Series event or the US Open because he didn't want to have the COVID vaccination, it's gain, gain, gain for Djokovic once Wimbledon is done.
Well, and also, he's trying to tie Federer's record in the men's game of 8 Wimbledon titles. Another thing to be going for, and he got no points for the Wimbledon Championship last year. He won.
Yeah, no points to defend at Wimbledon this year. Russians and Belarusians back, ranking points reinstated. Lob from Djokovic, bounce smash from Ruud, very secure. And now just trying to give himself a little bit of love. Casper Ruud pumps that left fist, a little leap of delight as he holds for 4-3, and he's doing all you could really ask of him in this set at the moment. He's just about keeping Novak Djokovic at bay. Choice of listening on BBC Sounds this afternoon, and from a sporting perspective on Sports Extra right now, our county championship cricket has actually changed. We're now following Kent against Surrey. There's commentary on that. If you fancy a podcast, then the latest edition of Jill Scott's Coffee Club is also on BBC Sounds, featuring Connor Cody, who you might also have heard on the Monday Night Club last Monday. So Novak Djokovic, as we said many times before during the clay court season, is a very different man at the end of the clay court season to the one who begins it. Now, I know he's only won this title twice before, but think how he was stressing in Monte Carlo, Greg. He was worried about his elbow. He was losing to Lorenzo Musetti. He was having arguments with a line judge. Grand Slams are a different sport.
Well, they are, and the older you get, they become more important, especially for the legends of our game like Federer, Djokovic, Nadal. This is where they really put all their main efforts, and it's also 3 out of 5 sets, which is a totally different beast, because even though you're playing Master Series and events like that, it's 2 out of 3 sets, and the best players always find solutions in this sort of format.
The Mexican wave, which tends to break out at least once in a high-profile match here at Roland Garros, is
sort of run out of steam, hasn't
exactly
it?
that. I was just going to say, it looks to have completely petered out.
Well, no, it's coming out, but it's just not in the expensive seats. They're not getting up in there. It's more on the rafters up top.
The players are quite used to waiting.
Yeah, I don't think Djokovic needs this right now, because this is a pretty important moment for him, because any let-up here or any unforced error, double fault, whatever, Casper Ruud could be suddenly looking like he could get back into this match and take the third set. So,
well, I've been very impressed in this set from Casper, because being down 2 sets to love, you thought his head might drop, saved that 1 break point, and has really gone from strength to strength and really played well in this 3rd set.
It's now a proper Mexican wave. It's now going anti-clockwise. And I think the crowd have had their fill. They've had their fun. They fancy a bit of tennis. And then they're all busily shushing each other, as if to say, how could you be so irresponsible? 3-4. Djokovic serving, staying at the back of the court, hitting a backhand cross-court. Backhand from Ruud at full stretch. Djokovic with the drive volley. Ruud with the forehand. Volley into the net, Djokovic. Well, that was a big surprise.
Well, Djokovic played the point really well. I mean, he couldn't have played it any better. He was in control of it. It was just a fabulous strike from Casper Ruud, and just got enough dip with his wrist to make that volley just a tiny bit difficult.
But it's the first time the crowd has really gotten behind Casper Ruud. I think they want more tennis.
Yeah. As we said, he can't really afford too much of a let-up in this game.
3-4, love 15. Djokovic leads Ruud by 2 sets to love in the Roland Garros men's singles final. First serve netted by Djokovic. Second serve onto the backhand of Ruud. Djokovic cross-court with the backhand. Ruud's backhand is very deep, and it's forced the error from Djokovic on the backhand.
Well, I think not helped by not getting his first serve into play on that love 15 point. Suddenly he was up against it with a big return of serve on the second serve.
It's amazing how a crowd can change a dimension of a match by those Mexican waves, taking that time away from Novak. Very dangerous moment coming up here.
Yeah.
We're on bounce gate of Novak. That's when he's a little bit nervous and tight, taking those extra bounces.
3-4, love 30, finds the deep first serve. Good return though by Ruud. Djokovic's forehand cross-court. Djokovic with the forehand, hits the net. Oh, a net cord winner.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's a bit aggressive from the crowd, isn't it? I think that's pretty harsh. I don't know whether they're booing. Well, it's not booing, because sometimes we think when they're saying rude that it sounds like a boo.
I think they were booing.
Do you?
I think they were booing the net. They booed everything else.
I know, that's true.
I think they've had too many glasses of rosé in the crowd right now. They're getting a little feisty.
That would have been love 40. Dead net court winner for Djokovic. 15-30 down still at 3-4 in this third set. Down the tee with an ace.
I thought that was out. Well, no complaint from Casper Ruud. It must have hit the line. That was close. Getting pretty rowdy in here.
All. 6 minutes shy of 3 hours on the clock. Djokovic with 1 second left serves, but it's another very good serve. Forehand from him. Ruud's backhand. Djokovic with the forehand. Ruud on the defence. Djokovic, is he going to smash it? No, he's opting to play the drive volley again, and Ruud has gone wide with a forehand. So that's a couple of times where he perhaps could have taken the high ball out of the air with the overhead. He's opted to hit the drive volley.
Yeah, I don't blame him, but also a really great forehand before he had to hit the drive volley. And that's the sort of champion's mentality, where he was not playing a passive point there. He went after it, he forced the play, he took control of the point. Really, really impressive.
From love 30 to 40-30. He's over time. That had to come. That had to come.
Now, are they booing the umpire or
almost certainly? I think they're booing the umpire this time.
I hope so.
They don't hold grudges against individuals.
No.
The net will be back in their good books before long. He was definitely over time there.
This is the problem, isn't it? When you have a rowdy crowd, then you are going to take a bit more time to get settled. And now all that the umpire's done is cause it to be delayed even more.
But I think for Casper Ruud, you've got to call that, haven't you? Because those are the rules. And he's been pushing it at times. That's the first time I've noticed that he's actually been over the 25 seconds. But it makes no difference to this man. And he raises his arm in triumph, in defiance, as he hits a service winner down the tee, wins 4 points in a row from love 30, brushes off the Mexican wave, brushes off the warning for slow play, and levels the third set at 4 games all.
I just have a sense right now Novak is looking to pounce. This is where Casper cannot afford to drop his level whatsoever, because Djokovic is starting to feel it right now. You can see his intensity just lift here.
The quicker you win, the more time you have to celebrate. Djokovic is 2 games away from another title in Paris, another Grand Slam title, but he can't yet shake Casper Ruud off in this third set. Tiebreak decided the first set. Ruud had led it by 4 games to 1, but Djokovic was immaculate in the tiebreak and won it by 7 points to 1. Second set, 6-3 to the Serb. And here we are at 4-all as the crowd continue to distract the players at crucial times. Forehand Djokovic, forehand Ruud down the centre. Djokovic's backhand also down the centre. Djokovic with a forehand to the forehand of Ruud. Forehand cross-court Djokovic, brilliant. Absolutely sensational hitting.
Oh, that's one of the best forehands he's hit the entire match. I mean, just the way he generates the pace and the timing out of the strings once again. Ruud left stranded and just watching as he stood and delivered that forehand.
Well, the amazing part about it was how far back behind the baseline Djokovic was with that pace and that angle to beat Ruud.
Djokovic has love 15 on the Ruud serve. And Ruud now has a second serve. Djokovic, champion in 2016 when he beat Andy Murray. Champion in 2021 when he came back from 2 sets to love down to beat Stefanos Tsitsipas. Hits a backhand cross-court. Backhand down the line from Djokovic. Ruud with the forehand. Djokovic cross-court with the backhand. Ruud's backhand onto the Djokovic backhand. Ruud goes down the line with the backhand. The lob from Djokovic. Brilliantly hit to within an inch or two of the baseline. Forehand Djokovic. Backhand Ruud. The sun comes out as Djokovic plays a drop shot into the net.
Those are one of those rallies that Ruud wants to physically win as he checks the mark, wipes the line because it was plumb on the line. But the more he can make the rally go longer like this, the better off he's got to possibly turn this around. But it's a big ask because that's one of the longest points we've seen in a long while.
$15-all. Ruud just misses that service line, trying to hit that one out wide, swinging away from the right-handed Djokovic. Second serve, forehand return Djokovic, forehand Ruud. Djokovic on the move, hits the forehand into the middle of the court. Ruud clubs the forehand deep.
Gosh, that was close to the mark, wasn't it? I thought he'd missed that final forehand, but Djokovic just looking round at the line judge there just to see if it was in. Saw the two hands indicating that it was on the line, but gosh, that was very close to the mark. He's hitting his forehand a little bit better once again, Casper Ruud.
Well, you can hear the ball and the sound it's making. It's much more aggressive.
Forehand return from Djokovic. Ruud's forehand is long. Again, it was all about the Djokovic return.
And the sun has come out a lot brighter, hasn't it, in this last game? It's just sort of lifted the conditions once again. It's speeding things up.
And you've got the 2 pairs of glasses, so you've got the sunglasses option with you, Annabelle.
I've definitely got those with me. In fact, I might put them on.
30-all. 4 games all, third set. Can Djokovic set up a break point? No, he's missed his service return. He sent one of those loopy returns Casper Ruud's way, and it was just a little bit too long. We are right on top of that line here on the Philippe Chatrier court, behind Casper Ruud, as he takes a couple of extra balls and tries to serve out another game, which would give him a 5-4 lead in the third set. Forehand from Casper Ruud, the backhand from Novak Djokovic. Ruud cross-court with the backhand from Ruud. Forehand cross-court from Djokovic. Backhand cross-court from Djokovic. He's missed just again. Arms stretched out wide. Can't believe his bad luck. Can't believe he's missed one. And Ruud holds, and all credit to him, because he's been under pressure at times on serve. Only had to save the 1 break point, but he's playing well enough and he's proving resolute enough to lead this third set by 5 games to 4.
Yeah, he's done a great job, hasn't he? Just finding another gear and just keeping up the pressure, the scoreline pressure. And, you know, despite the fact that Novak's still playing extremely well, you know, the nerves are going to come into play the closer this set gets with the scoreline. And the crowd being as rowdy as they are, and they're getting right behind Casper Ruud. As you say, they want to see more tennis. So he's doing a terrific job right now.
Well, he is. And also you talked about the ball strike of Casper Ruud. You know, you're starting to see and hear the sound on that forehand side being more penetrating, being more aggressive. And he's got to stick with that tactic as well. And you know, it's quite ironic. You saw when Djokovic had that break point with that backhand, he would never miss. You see him slap his thigh. Will that come back to haunt him in this set right now? Because, you know, Ruud to me has been very impressive mentally to stick with the task, considering how well Novak was playing after that first set and a half, it was unstoppable.
Yeah, he's very measured as a character, isn't he? You just don't hear him too much. He's just very, very focused, head down, gets on with it. Very sort of studious player. And once again, he can pile the pressure on Novak Djokovic here. If he doesn't get all his first serves into play, you know that Casper Ruud's going to go after that ball and really try and get some big hits in with the returns of serve. And I think these conditions are really helping Casper Ruud at the moment, the way it's lightened up and the sun has come out.
So Djokovic serving to stay in this third set at 4-5 as the lines open for 6:06, which will be at either 6 or as soon as this men's final finishes in Paris. Chris Sutton and Robbie Savage in the chair for plenty of Champions League chat. 08085 909 693. Ace from Djokovic.
He's not in the mood to get embroiled into cat and mouse stuff in this match, is he?
No, he's been very, very good at keeping the points very short and sharp, which really favors him. Casper, on the other hand, would like to make them more physical and longer.
Djokovic serving down the tee, reached on the forehand by Ruud. Forehand Djokovic, Ruud cross-court with a forehand. Djokovic cross-court with a forehand. Djokovic is the one on the baseline. Ruud's been quite a long way behind, and it's very hard to make a drop shot from there. Djokovic to 30 love.
I think he's done well, Djokovic, when he goes back cross-court, don't you think, Greg, into that forehand of Casper Ruud, to try and sort of match him cross-court on that shot and then be able to get to the backhand of Casper Ruud.
Well, he's done a great job because he's really relaxed into it from that second set. He's getting through the ball beautifully, and Djokovic's forehand's pretty big as a shot. People don't talk about it much. It's underrated of how much speed and pace he has on it as he serves another ace in this game to go up 40 love.
I agree with you. I think it is underestimated, actually. I mean, we're always talking about the backhand. I remember interviewing Goran Ivanisevic once and saying, what shot would you want from anybody in the history of the game? And he said Djokovic's backhand, actually. But the forehand, I think, is equally as devastating.
So very quickly, when serving to stay in the set, Djokovic to 40 love. Backhand cross-court Ruud. Djokovic cross-court with the backhand. Forehand now for Djokovic. Ruud cross-court with the forehand. Djokovic cross-court. What a finish. What a game.
Underlines your point there, Greg, with that forehand winner. Blistering shot. Just left a crater down the other end of the court.
Well, let's not forget, when he won the Australian Open, how well he struck that forehand and how aggressive he was getting through the ball beautifully there. Really showing intent. The focus on Djokovic's face is like, come on, I want to get number 23 right now. Casper, if you drop off a millimeter, I'm going to take a mile.
Yeah.
Five games all, third set. BBC Sounds, 5 Live Sport. Sports World on the BBC World Service. Is Novak Djokovic about to win a 23rd Grand Slam singles title? He started this Casper Ruud service game by hitting a backhand winner onto the sideline.
Well, he will if he continues to hit shots like that. I mean, that was sensational. And again, Casper Ruud left stranded just watching it.
Love 15. Ruud to the backhand of Djokovic. Ruud's forehand. Djokovic with the forehand cross-court. Ruud's forehand hit to the Djokovic backhand. Ruud lifts a backhand wide, and he's given Djokovic a big look here at love 30.
Yeah, a bit of panic setting in there.
Well, this is where you separate the men from the boys. 5-all, 6-5. Can you push forward at the end of the set? And this is where the great champions put that little extra pressure on you.
Yeah, Djokovic senses it, doesn't he? Prowling on the baseline.
Love 30. Ruud serves. Backhand Djokovic. Ruud's forehand. Djokovic down the line with a forehand. Ruud's backhand is hit cross-court to the Djokovic forehand. Ruud's forehand to the Djokovic forehand. Ruud cross-court. Djokovic cross-court with a winner.
I mean, what a forehand again. Incredible from Novak. This pumps his team and says, come on, guys. Love 40. Let's get the nail in the coffin with the break here. He's seeing it like a beach volleyball.
Oh, it's amazing to watch this tennis and how loose he is at this particular scoreline. I expected a lot more nerves, and it's quite the opposite. He seems to be forging ahead now. And the way he's neutralising these serves with these amazing returns of serve back on that baseline.
3 break points for Djokovic. He's gone from 0 to 40 in seconds. Backhand cross-court. Backhand from Ruud. The backhand from Djokovic. Ruud's forehand. Djokovic with the backhand. Ruud hits the forehand. Djokovic with the backhand cross-court. Ruud with the backhand cross-court. Djokovic cross-court again with the backhand. Now he's got room for the forehand. Forehand from Ruud. Djokovic in mid-court. Hits the backhand cross-court. Ruud with the backhand. Djokovic cross-court with the backhand. Djokovic breaks. Djokovic leads the third set by 6 games to 5. He's won 8 points in a row. And he is 1 service hold away from being a man with more Grand Slam singles title than anyone in the history of the sport.
Oh, I mean, that was just incredible, those 4 points from Novak. He just bossed it around. He made Casper look average. He was taking control, command of every single point. You can't strike a tennis ball any better than he just has. I mean, it is so clean, it is so beautiful, it is so perfect.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, that made my body go into goosebumps watching those 4 points back to back like that. You could not play any better. And it's just the way he goes into this lockdown mode and you just feel his presence, you feel the character, you feel the psychology that he brings and strength of character into a match. And the way he was nailing those ground strokes, there was no way he wasn't going to get that break of serve.
But it's the penetration, it's the depth, it's the angle, it's the shot selection. It's just perfect. I mean, to have that clarity at such a big moment, 5-all, being 2 sets to love, going for history of 23 Grand Slams, trying to get back to world #1, 94th title. I mean, it's just amazing the way he can stay in the moment.
Yeah, he's just risen in stature, hasn't he, at the end of that game, getting that break. And he's doing some high can-can kicks out on the Philippe Chatrier court as he's loosening up those thighs for this last potential service game here. This moment of history.
The sound that greets Novak Djokovic as he steps up to the baseline again. Serve flags very much in evidence around the Philippe Chatrier court. He's played 8 perfect points. He's had enough of this final. History beckons for Novak Djokovic. 6-5, serving for the French Open title. A 3rd title in Paris and a 23rd slam overall. He starts with a first serve into the net. Second serve from Djokovic onto the forehand of Ruud. Djokovic cross-court with the forehand. Ruud's forehand is long.
Oh, that'll help Djokovic, won't it, at this moment when you've got to consider that his heart must be palpitating beneath that red shirt. But to be given a free point like that to start things off will just settle the nerves.
Well, it will, and he's done this so many times, and he knows how to manage that adrenaline, you know, take a little extra time. We're going to see the Djokovic ball bounce that goes on for a little longer, and that really tells us how he's feeling inside. Doesn't serve until he's ready.
15-love. Lands it on the service line, and it's into the net from Ruud, who is absolutely powerless now. He started so well, led the first set by 4 games to 1, but still lost the set on a tie-break. And now, 3 hours and 10 minutes into the match, Djokovic 6-5 in the 3rd set, 30-love, marching towards more history. He serves to try and set up championship points. He's got a short return from Ruud, and he does not make any mistake with the forehand, Djokovic. Clenches his fist, holds the pose. The right fist is still clenched. There's very little emotion on his face. He's going about his business as he has done so many times before, and so many times before in Grand Slam finals. Novak Djokovic on the brink. 3 championship points. Djokovic fills his lungs with air, looks up into the stands and waits for silence. First serve is good. The high return from Ruud. Is he going to win it with a smash? Ruud with the backhand. Djokovic in the middle of the court. The forehand has missed. Well, that must be the easiest chance you could possibly have to win a 23rd Grand Slam singles title.
Well, it's easier said than done, but what a good overhead by Novak. And surprisingly, misses the forehand that has been firing the last 2 sets. Good point from him. He's got a little chuckle on his face. He knows he's got a few more opportunities.
Championship point number 2 now for Novak Djokovic here in Paris.
Please. S'il vous plaît, mesdames, messieurs, jusqu'à la fin du match, un peu de calme.
Djokovic just walking away from the baseline. Umpire Dumoussois pleading for silence until the end of the match. It could be 1 point away because this is championship point number 2 for Novak Djokovic. First serve is long. Cleans the baseline in front of him. Second serve. Championship point number 2. It's a forehand return from Ruud. Djokovic with the forehand. Ruud hits the backhand with a bit of air to the Djokovic backhand. Ruud's backhand. Djokovic with the backhand cross-court. Ruud slices his backhand. The forehand from Djokovic. Ruud slices the backhand onto that forehand once more. Ruud on the run with the forehand. It's wide. Djokovic on his back on the Philippe Chatrier court as a 23-time Grand Slam singles champion. More Grand Slams than Roger Federer. More Grand Slams than Rafael Nadal. He draws level with Serena Williams, and there is simply no sign that his extraordinary powers are on the wane. Casper Ruud round to embrace the champion for a 3rd time in Paris. The oldest champion in French Open history. The first man to win each of the 4 Grand Slams at least 3 times. And all this at the age of 36 as he returns to the world #1 ranking. What an afternoon's work by Novak Djokovic, who is now crouched down and just trying to take it all in. Very emotional, having a moment to himself as 15,000 people inside this great stadium try and digest the history that we have witnessed here this afternoon. Djokovic bows. Djokovic pumps his chest. What a champion. What a warrior. Unstoppable. Novak Djokovic, and now leaping in the air to punch the air. And he's off to celebrate with his team. Quite a moment. Annabelle Croft, Greg Rosetsky.
Well, I think such a privilege to sit here and witness this great champion to seal his place in the history books. I mean, it was just an extraordinary performance, and considering how tense and nervous he was when he walked out into the match, how well his opponent played and came at him with so many different tactics that worked exceptionally well, and the way he navigated his way through it and was able to, find the solutions and to show such strength of character and heart, absolutely remarkable.
And we're seeing lovely scenes at the moment with him embracing his team, his coach, his agent, his family. He has his wife there as well as his 2 kids. He's embracing his son, giving him a big hug and a kiss, and his daughter as well, his mom and dad. What a moment. 23 majors and counting. He's created history in the men's game, and there's no stopping this man. Enjoy the moment.
Yeah, this is now very much a family occasion in the heart of Paris. A big hug for mum and dad. Handshakes for others. Novak Djokovic is handed a serve flag by his mum, I think, in fact by his agent. And for those he can't quite reach, he's going to make an extra effort to get to, climbing up a few steps and perhaps crying a few tears onto a shoulder or 2 here, Novak Djokovic. The presentation will follow shortly. It may well be that the stage is erected before Djokovic returns to the Philippe Chatrier court. But these are very, very special scenes indeed. And this is tennis history. Yes, Margaret Court won 24, some of those before tennis was truly open in 1968, but who'd bet against Djokovic equaling that at Wimbledon in 5 weeks' time? And who would bet that he wouldn't be able to go past her all-time record and stand unchallenged at the top of the sport?
I mean, lovely pictures there. Gustavo Kuerten, the three-time champion, embracing him. Jako Tipsarevic, one of the former Serbian Davis Cup players with him. Tom Brady, all the greats of the game and the rest of his team congratulating him. What a moment to be part of this history, and they appreciate his greatness today.
10 Australian Opens, 3 French Opens, 7 Wimbledons, 3 US Opens. That equals 23 Grand Slam singles titles.
It's just absolutely jaw-dropping, to be honest. I mean, I always remember that line that Andre Agassi said when people used to ask him if he was going to win another Grand Slam title, and he always said, if you ask me that question, you have no idea what you have to put yourself through to win one. And, you know, can only imagine what Novak has put himself through to win all of those Grand Slam titles, but how well he's handled this occasion today.
Well, he has, and in the tunnel we just saw pictures of Yannick Noah, the former French Open champion here, the last Frenchman to win this title, giving him a good embrace. I believe he's going to be handing him the trophy today as well. So he's got his shirt that says 23 on it.
That's what his agents gave him. It wasn't the flag. I saw some red and I thought it might be the serve flag, but it was a top with 23 emblazoned across the chest.
Yeah, and he's just handed his racket across to, I think it's a Serbian gentleman who's got the winning racket, I believe, which will be worth something, I would imagine. What a special moment that was to receive that racket.
And the other thing which impresses me, this is 23. He's just won the first 2 majors of the year. I wouldn't be surprised if he's on for the calendar slam this year. And I think Wimbledon's usually the easiest one for him to win. It looks like there's no stopping Novak Djokovic, so I think you're going to have to get a few more shirts with 24 and 25 in the future, the way this man played today.
2021, he came within 1 win of winning the calendar Grand Slam. Daniel Medvedev stopped him in the US Open final, and the questions about that are going to increase as we get to Wimbledon. As Greg says, he's a 7 times champion. He will start as a strong favourite to win that title, but it begins in just 3 weeks' time. Coverage across the BBC, and even for Novak Djokovic, it's not easy to go back-to-back from the clay and then to the grass. David Law also watching these scenes with us. Truly special, David. That is history, and it is just so well deserved for this man.
And very different scenes to those that we witnessed at the Australian Open this year when he was battling his body. He'd got that hamstring tear and he sort of collapsed in the player box when he was greeting his family. He sort of almost passed out with the enormity of what had happened and how much he'd kind of physically had to go through to get to that point. This, I think he's able to really take in and enjoy in a way that he couldn't maybe in Australia. And let's not forget, he has been trying to catch Rafael Nadal and Roger Federer before him for his entire career, more than 15 years of chasing, and finally he is on top of the heap in men's tennis in terms of Grand Slam singles titles won, and that is just an extraordinary achievement given the opposition, given how long it's taken to get there. 23 Grand Slam singles titles, and he doesn't even look like he's finished yet.
He has timed his run to perfection, hasn't he, going past Rafa and Roger. And Rafa may return to the tour next year, and if he does, we'll perhaps fancy his chances of winning number 23 here in Paris in 12 months' time. But Djokovic, the overwhelming favourite now to end his career with more Grand Slams than any other man. The trophy presentation is coming up very shortly here on 5 Live. The World Service, BBC Sounds. We're seeing a few highlights on the big screen at the moment. Djokovic is also the 4th oldest male Grand Slam champion of the Open era. Roger Federer won his final major at the Australian Open of 2018 at 36 and a half. Djokovic is not even 36 years and 1 month yet. And the record they're chasing is Ken Rosewall's. 37 years and 2 months old when he won the Australian Open of 1972. So if Djokovic were to win Wimbledon next year, I think he would probably just go past him.
Well, the way he's playing, there's no reason why he shouldn't be able to do so. I mean, his health has been phenomenal. His mindset has still been there. His drive. I mean, it is incredible what this man has achieved, and there's nothing and nobody out there who looks like they're going to stop him at the moment.
Gustavo Kuerten, who was giving the champion a hug there. Ivan Lendl and Mats Wilander, like Novak Djokovic, are also three-time French Open champions.
Novak Djokovic.
And that 94th title of his career draws him level with Ivan Lendl. There he's chasing Jimmy Connors, who won 109 tour
Voici
titles.
quelques-uns des ramasseuses et ramasseurs de balles qui ont officié cette semaine et lors de cette finale.
And here is a thank you to the ball boys and the ball girls who are making their way out onto the Philippe Chatrier court for an ovation. And the crowd showing their appreciation.
Les juges de ligne. 329 juges de ligne représentant 50 pays de tous les continents, 97.
And now the line judges.
Ils ont entre 18 et 64 ans.
Walking out as well in their turquoise tops. Rafael Nadal has tweeted his congratulations. Many congrats on this amazing achievement at Gioconole. 23 is a number that just a few years back was impossible to think about, and you made it. Enjoy it with your family and friends.
Sur 33 cours pendant ces 3 semaines.
And now the ground staff walking out. It's like a military parade, this at Roland Garros. The stage has been erected. The photographers, the camera crews are one side of the net. The stage is the other side of the net. And we'll soon have La Coupe des Mousquetaires. And it'll soon be in Novak Djokovic's hands once more.
Voici les trophées et la Coupe des Mousquetaires, créée et réalisée par la maison Mélerio.
Here comes the trophy, which will be presented by Yannick Noah 40 years after his memorable triumph. He was the last French man to win the singles title here. .606 follows. A reminder, if you're listening on 5 Live, 25 minutes from now, and if you want to call now, book your spot with Chris and Robbie. Chris Sutton and Robbie Savage is 08085 909 693.
Cérémonie de remise de récompense du tournoi Simple Messieurs Roland Garros 2023. Les trophées seront remis par le président de la Fédération française de tennis, M. Gilles Moreton, accompagné de celui qui remportait Roland Garros il y a 40 ans ici, Yannick Noah.
And here comes the president of the federation and Yannick Noah, who started this French Open by playing a DJ set on what was renamed Yannick Noah Day, traditionally Kids Day, on a stage that was soon taken down just a few rows in front of us here in the stands on the Philippe Chatrier court. We're now going to get a reminder of some of Yannick Noah's great moments, which you probably don't remember particularly well, Greg, do you?
Oh, I remember them clearly. Actually, I was lucky enough to play Yannick Noah in Lyon once in my career, at the end of his career, and for me, he was a great champion. I remember the emotion when he won the title. All of France was behind him. And his tennis style was aggressive, it was attacking, he came to the net. He did everything so well, and for me, it's one of my fondest memories as a kid, watching him as an 11-year-old win the title here in Paris.
Did you ever play mixed doubles with him, Annabelle?
Sadly not. I would love to have played mixed doubles with Yannick Noah, and I'm a little bit like Greg. I remember it so clearly, and just the energy and the passion, and you know, just such a big personality, wonderful champion. And he looks pretty cool today too, doesn't he?
Well, he does. You know, what's amazing about him is he's transitioned into a music superstar in France as well. I mean, he's had an amazing tennis career, but a career after tennis as well.
Our chair umpire, Damien Dumoussois, is walking up the ramp, the clay court coloured ramp, to receive a token that will help him remember officiating history.
Finaliste du simple messieurs Roland-Garros 2023, il disputait sa 3e finale en Grand Chelem, la 2e à Roland-Garros, le Norvégien Casper, Ruud.
Third Grand Slam final, third defeat, but look who he's come up against. Rafael Nadal, Carlos Alcaraz and Novak Djokovic. Andre Agassi, Goran Ivanisevic and Dominic Thiem also lost their first Grand Slam finals, their first 3 they played. Ivan Lendl and Andy Murray lost their first 4. But look what all of those players went on to achieve, and that's what Casper Ruud will be hoping as he shows his silver runner-up tray to all 4 main stands here at Roland Garros.
A few words.
Yes, I think we should start with Novak. Another day, another record for you, and another day you rewrite tennis history once again. It's just, you know, it's tough to explain how incredible it is and how good you are, and yeah, what an inspiration you are to so many people around the world. So congratulations to you, to your team. I know this tastes probably the best out of all, so congrats. I'm happy I'm the first one to congratulate you from here, from the stage. So I'm sure you will have many other congratulations. But again, congrats to you, Goran, and everyone involved. You're doing an amazing job. So yeah, congrats again. And, well, where should we start? I mean, Amelie, tournament director, you're putting on a great show once again, doing everything you can for the players. And luckily, I think we had great weather these 2 weeks. It was a very, very beautiful time in Paris. And, of course, everyone will look forward to coming back and hoping for another great Roland Garros coming in the next year. And everyone involved voluntarily in the tournament, ball boys especially, and then of course you have all the umpires and all the volunteers. Thanks to everyone for staying from early morning to late night for us to have everything we need. Everyone sort of beyond the camera, they are doing a great job. So thanks for yeah, putting all the effort into treating the players nice, and it really makes a difference for us. And to my own team, everyone involved, I cannot talk about every single one because it will take too long time, but you all know who you are, but especially my father, my mother, my partner Maria, you are my closest ones, so thank you so much for... Thank you for all the work you do. Thank you for always staying with me. Thank you for pushing me, not just these 2 weeks, but every day of the year, all my life, since I was a little boy. It's been a long journey. I'm very happy that we can be back in the final here in Roland Garros after what happened last year, and we will continue to work hard to try to come back to the final of Roland Garros once more. Thank you.
Classy and gracious speech by Casper Ruud, who's the runner-up. He's had to give ground to Novak Djokovic.
And just lastly, to the French crowd, everyone here today and everyone here in the past 2 weeks, was incredible to play in front of you. Incredible support. This court is incredible to play in, even though it's the first match of the day, the last match of the day. It's always full, and it's always a joy playing in front of this passionate French crowd, and gives me motivation to work hard to come back and play in front of you again next year. So thank you to everyone.
Vainqueur du simple messieurs Roland-Garros 2023. Il obtient son 3e titre à Roland-Garros, le 23e en Grand Chelem, le premier joueur masculin à réaliser ce record. Il est serbe, Novak Djokovic.
Djokovic had his eyes closed there as he took it all in, and now he's walking up the ramp, raises his left arm to the crowd. Another embrace for Yannick Noah. The Coupe des Mousquetaires is in his hand for a third time. He's going to walk up to the highest part of the podium and lift it skywards. 2016, 2021 and 2023. He's triumphed in Paris, and the 2023 trophy gives him a 23rd Grand Slam singles title. He's clutching it very, very tight. There's no lid to fall off, as with the Coupe Suzanne Lenglen that caught Iga Swiatek off guard yesterday. Djokovic just standing there.
Mesdames, Messieurs, en l'honneur du vainqueur, l'hymne national serbe.
Because he knows the drill. Novak Djokovic singing along, and he's now going to address the crowd.
Novak, avant de prendre la parole, tu viens de remporter, on le disait, ton 23e titre en Grand Chelem. C'est un record. Et la Fédération française de tennis et Roland-Garros ont tenu à t'honorer. Nous avons une surprise pour toi.
A little surprise for him. He doesn't just get the trophy, but because he's won 23 Grand Slam singles titles.
De la Coupe des Mousquetaires, sur le socle de chaque face, il y a tous les tournois du Grand Chelem que tu as remportés.
So he has a replica, a small version of the Coupe des Mousquetaires, and on there will be listed and marked every single Grand Slam title he's won. Greg, I know you need to go in a moment. Nice touch from the French Federation.
Oh, beautiful touch from the French Tennis Federation. They're very classy. What a moment to honor him. 23 majors. In my opinion, we have just seen the greatest of all time in tennis. I mean, Novak Djokovic, what he's accomplished to win 23 slams is just incredible.
Alors, bonjour tout le monde. Je commence avec français, peut-être. J'essaie.
So he's going to try to address the crowd in French here.
Merci une autre fois pour une atmosphère spéciale, merveilleuse. Je suis
Thank you very much one more time for such a special atmosphere.
Ce moment très spécial de ma carrière avec vous, avec
very happy to share such a special moment in his career with them.
Dans ma vie. Merci beaucoup. c'est pas une coïncidence que j'ai gagné le 23 Grand Chelem ici à Paris parce que ce tournoi était vraiment tous les jours de toute ma carrière le tournoi plus dur de gagner pour moi.
He said it's no coincidence that his 23rd Grand Slam title success has come here because it's been the hardest slam for him to win throughout his career.
Aussi, je dois dire que
so he's very emotional right now.
Très très fier et très heureux d'être ici dans cette cour très très spéciale. Donc merci encore pour votre présence, pour votre soutien, pour votre énergie aujourd'hui et tout le tournoi cette année. Merci beaucoup.
He's very, very proud to be here, and he's thanking the crowd for all their support and for all the energy he's gained from them.
Et je cherche pour un professeur de français encore. Je n'ai pas le trouvé.
He says he's still looking for a French
okay,
teacher.
I switch to English.
Not sure he needs one.
Casper, thank you for your nice words. Appreciate that. You are, not because we are standing here, but you are one of the best persons on the tour. You know, best personalities, people around the tour, players, coaches, everybody respects you, appreciates you, loves you, and it's with a great reason. It's with a great reason. And I had to say that first because I really feel that today, in today's world, is important to note when somebody, you know, has the real human values, right life values, and you and your team, your father, your coaches, your family, everybody has been super, super nice to me and my team and to everybody around, so you deserve a great respect and great applause for that. I'm sorry for the result today, you know, for sure. That's not the best way to finish for you, you know, but you've had an incredible couple of years here. Finals last year, finals this year, and you've been one of the most consistent players in the world for the last couple of years. You played, I think, 3 or 4 Grand Slam finals out of 5, 6 last Grand Slams that you played, so it speaks about your quality of tennis and your consistency, and I wish you really all the best. I wish you to win against anybody except me when you play me, you know. But if I lose earlier in the Grand Slam, you can win it, no problem. And now I would like to say that it's a great honor to have Yannick Noah today. 40 years of anniversary since you won here. I remember, you know, I was really, really young when you were retiring from tennis, but I watched your videos with a great joy, and I just appreciated and loved your enthusiasm, you know, that was transformed into music after your tennis career, and what you bring to the people, the kind of a positivity and an energy is something very special. So just wanted to say that, and it's great to have you here. Thank you very much. My team, my family, my kids, my wife, my parents, everyone is here. My 2 brothers are not here, but I love them very much. You guys, I don't know what to say. I mean, you know what we've been through, the trials and tribulations every single day. You know how difficult I can be on a daily basis. So I want to thank you, first of all, for patience and tolerance, because probably that stands out more than anything else. Knowing what I've done to you the last few weeks, people don't know, but behind the closed doors, I was really torturing you. So I really appreciate being my rock, being my support, and believing in me. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Yeah. I would like to thank, as Casper did, to Amelie and to the tournament organization. Obviously, Grand Slam is a Grand Slam. You know, 4 biggest tournaments that we have in the history of our sports, in our sport, the tennis, and every single player dreams of being in this stage and winning the trophy at least once in their career. I am beyond fortunate in my life to win 23 times Grand Slams. It's an incredible, incredible feeling. I mean, I would like to use the moment. I mean, I've been talking too much. I know. I'm really sorry. I would say a few more things, please. My kids are here, and I always try to convey some values, some messages, something that they can learn from, something that, I don't know, they can draw some inspiration, you know. And I really hope, judging by their smile, I think they're enjoying it. And I would just like to send a message to every young person out there, whatever you're pursuing in the world, whether it's tennis, sports, or anything else. You know, I was a 7-year-old dreaming that I could win Wimbledon and become #1 in the world one day. As I said, I'm beyond grateful and blessed to be standing here with so many incredible achievements. But one thing is for sure, I feel that I had the power to create my own destiny. I try to visualize every single thing in my life, not only believe it, but really feel it with every cell in my body. And I just want to send a message out there to every young person: be in the present moment, forget about what happened in the past. Future is something that is just going to happen, but if you want a better future, you create it. Take the means in your hands, believe it, create it. Thank you. I'm starting to enjoy this very, very much, you know. I will say, last but not least, I want to thank football stars for being here. Giroud, Ibra, Mbappe, Tom Brady. I want to thank everybody for coming out and supporting. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm sorry if I missed somebody, but it's a great honor to have incredible football and sports stars. Ibra, ti ja se znamo, neko već vreme, ti si mi drugar. But everybody else, thank you for coming, and see you next year. Serbia!
Great speech from Novak Djokovic, so happy, so comfortable in his surroundings, and thanking those other celebrities who've been here to support him this afternoon. Let's get a final thought from Annabelle Croft. What are your outstanding memories of this afternoon going to be, Annabelle?
I think probably just how nervous and shaky he was at the start of the match, how well Casper Ruud played and how well he came out of the blocks. He threw everything at him. He tried many, many different tactics. And just, how incredibly strong in the head Novak is to be able to overcome the difficult moments, and how experienced he is, as we've seen, 22 times before he finally got this 23rd one. He's been able to put himself in the most pressurized situations and find a way to win. What an extraordinary champion. What a great speech, and very motivating, actually. I was hoping that my kids might be listening to some of the stuff that he was saying out there. But just a very, very special moment to even witness what he's just achieved. I mean, this has been a long time coming, hasn't it? We felt his presence coming up behind Federer, and then, of course, catching up with Federer and Nadal, and now overtaking them. I mean, this is quite incredible in the history of our sport.
Annabelle, it's been lovely having had you with us for the last 10 days.
Thank you for having me. I've had a great time.
We will see you at Wimbledon, where Novak Djokovic, Aaron, will be chasing a 24th Grand Slam singles title.